Tyler Morrison grabbed the private investigator by the throat and slammed him against the wall. Say that again? $315 million, sir. The old woman left everything to your ex-girlfriend. The vineyard, the mansion, and some kind of bonds hidden in... I know what she left. Tyler released him pacing like a caged animal. I walked away from Madison 6 months ago because she was broke, pregnant, and useless. Now she's worth more than my entire trust fund. He picked up a crystal paperweight and hurled it through the window. Glass exploded into the night. That baby is mine. Half its DNA is Morrison blood, which means half of everything Madison inherits belongs to me. Sir, legally, that's not how inheritance... I don't care about legal. I care about leverage. Find me something, anything. A forged document, a hidden debt, a family scandal. That vineyard was supposed to be worthless. Someone lied. And Madison Collins is going to pay for thinking she could cut me out. But before we continue, please subscribe to my channel and follow this incredible story to the very end. Comment below which city you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story travels. The eviction notice had been taped to Madison Collins' door for 3 hours before she finally found the courage to read it. 3 days. She had 3 days to produce $2,400 or she and her unborn daughter would be homeless. Her phone rang. She knew who it was before looking the same person who had called 4 times today. The same person she had been avoiding since she'd lost her job. Madison, it's Patricia Chen. Mrs. Chen, thank you for calling back. The reference for Morrison Marketing. I can't give it. Madison's knees buckled. She grabbed the kitchen counter. What? After everything that happened, I can't recommend you to another employer. It wouldn't be appropriate. I worked for you for 7 years. Madison's voice cracked. 7 years of overtime, weekends, holidays. I gave you everything. And then you fell apart. The panic attacks, the missed deadlines. The emergency room visits. I'm sorry about your personal situation, Madison, but business is business. My personal situation, you mean being abandoned by the father of my baby. You mean finding out I was pregnant and alone and terrified. At that personal situation, Patricia's voice turned cold. I fired you for performance issues. The pregnancy had nothing to do with it. You fired me 2 days after I told HR I was pregnant. 2 days, Patricia. That's not a coincidence. This conversation is over. Good luck with your future endeavors. The line went dead. Madison stood in her tiny kitchen phone pressed against her ear, listening to silence. 7 years. She had given that woman 7 years of her life, and she couldn't even get a phone reference. The baby kicked hard right under her ribs. I know, Madison whispered. I know we can't fall apart. Give me a minute. She walked to the kitchen table and sat down among the rejection letters. 67 of them. She had kept count because something in her needed to document this slow-motion disaster, needed proof that she had tried. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Heard you got fired. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Should have gotten rid of the baby when I told you to. Tyler. It had to be Tyler. He always found new numbers to harass her from. She started to block it, then stopped. Something about this message felt different, more confident, more threatening. Another text came through. Unknown. My father's lawyers are very interested in your situation. A pregnant woman with no job, no money, no family, that's what we call vulnerable. See you soon, sweetheart. Madison's blood went cold. Tyler's father, Harrison Morrison, one of the most powerful real estate developers on the West Coast. If he was involved, this wasn't just harassment anymore, this was war. Her phone rang again. Different number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Collins, this is Benjamin Ward from Ward & Associates Legal Services in Sonoma County. I'm calling about your grandmother, Eleanor Collins. Madison frowned. Her grandmother, a woman she had met exactly 4 times in her entire life, a woman who existed in her memory as uncomfortable holiday visits and birthday cards with $20 bills. What about her? I'm sorry to inform you that she passed away 3 days ago. She was 94 years old. Madison waited to feel something, grief maybe, or loss. But nothing came except a vague sense of guilt for feeling nothing at all. I appreciate you letting me know, Mr. Ward. Is there something you need me to sign? Or, Miss Collins, you're named in her will. You're the sole beneficiary of her estate. Madison laughed. She couldn't help it. Sole beneficiary, Mr. Ward, my grandmother lived on a farm somewhere in wine country. She wasn't exactly wealthy. Miss Collins. Benjamin Ward's voice became very careful. Your grandmother's estate includes 200 acres of land in Sonoma County, a Victorian mansion that's been in your family since 1889, and other assets, significant assets. I need to meet with you in person to discuss the details. Madison's hand tightened on the phone. What kind of assets? The kind that require a face-to-face conversation. Can you come to my office in Heldsburg tomorrow if possible? Mr. Ward, I'm 7 months pregnant, I'm about to be evicted, and I have $47 in my bank account. If this is some kind of scam. It's not a scam. Your grandmother was my client for 40 years. She spoke about you often, especially toward the end. His voice softened. She was waiting for you, Miss Collins. She said you'd come when you were ready. Ready for what? That's what I need to explain in person. Please, come to Healdsburg. Madison wrote down the address with a shaking hand. That night she couldn't sleep. She lay in her narrow bed staring at the ceiling, one hand resting on her swollen belly. Her mother had died when Madison was 19, breast cancer that spread too fast. In those final weeks, drugged on morphine, her mother had said strange things about Eleanor. Don't ever go to that house, Madison. Promise me. What house? Grandma's farm? It's not a farm. She's hiding something there. Something dangerous. Promise me you'll stay away. Madison had promised. For 12 years she had kept that promise without understanding why. Now she was about to break it. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Unknown. I know about your grandmother's estate. My lawyers know about it too. Whatever you think you're inheriting, think again. That property has been on my father's acquisition list for 20 years. You're not going to stand in our way. Madison's hands trembled as she typed a response. Madison, who is this unknown? You know exactly who this is. And Madison, I know you're pregnant with my child. That gives me rights. Rights I intend to exercise. Sleep well, sweetheart. This is just the beginning. Madison threw her phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. The baby kicked frantically, responding to her mother's fear. We're okay, Madison whispered. We're going to be okay. She didn't believe it. The drive to Healdsburg took 3 hours. Madison's old Honda Civic groaned and shuddered on the highway, and she had to pull over twice, once because the engine was overheating, once because her back hurt so badly she couldn't sit anymore. She stood by the side of the road, stretching, watching wine country roll past. Green hills covered with grapevines. Expensive cars heading to expensive tasting rooms. A world that had never included her and never would. Her phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but something made her answer. Miss Collins, this is Richard Ashworth. I represent Morrison Development Corporation. Madison's stomach dropped. How did you get this number? That's not important. What's important is that I have an offer for you. $2 million for your grandmother's property. Cash. Immediate closing. You could walk away today and never look back. I don't even know what my grandmother's property is worth. I haven't seen it yet. That's exactly my point. The property is a disaster, Miss Collins. A crumbling mansion, a dead vineyard, probably millions in repairs needed. $2 million is generous. Far more than you'd get on the open market. Madison gripped her phone tighter. How do you know what condition the property is in? Silence on the other end. Mr. Ashworth. How do you know anything about my grandmother's estate? I only found out about it yesterday. We've been monitoring the property for years, waiting for the right opportunity. Waiting for my grandmother to die, you mean? Miss Collins. Let me guess, you work for Harrison Morrison, Tyler's father. More silence. Then, I work for Morrison Development Corporation. We have legitimate business interests in that property. And Tyler just happens to be harassing me about it at the same time you're making offers. That's quite a coincidence, Mr. Ashworth. I don't know anything about Tyler's personal activities. This is a business matter. Then you won't mind if I decline your generous offer. I haven't even seen the property yet. I think I'll take a look before making any decisions. Miss Collins, I strongly advise you to reconsider. The Morrison family has resources you can't imagine. Legal resources, financial resources. If they decide they want that property, is that a threat? It's a reality check. You're a pregnant woman with no money and no support. You can't win this fight. Madison looked at her reflection in the car window. 7 months pregnant. Dark circles under her eyes. Wearing clothes from Goodwill because she couldn't afford anything else. Watch me, she said and hung up. Benjamin Ward's law office was exactly what Madison had expected, small, cluttered, filled with the smell of old paper and older coffee. He was exactly what she had expected too, 60-ish gray-haired, wearing a suit that had been expensive in 1985. Miss Collins, thank you for coming. His eyes moved to her belly, and something shifted in his expression. Concern, maybe? Or recognition? Please sit down. You look exhausted. I've had a difficult few months. So I understand. He opened a folder on his desk. Your grandmother kept track of you, Miss Collins. She had newspaper clippings about your college graduation, your design awards, even your engagement announcement 3 years ago. My engagement? Madison frowned. I was never engaged. The announcement was in the San Francisco Chronicle. You and Tyler Morrison, December 2021. Madison felt sick. Tyler put that announcement in the paper without telling me. We were dating, but I never agreed to marry him. When I found out, I confronted him about it. He said it was a joke. Benjamin's expression darkened. A joke? Yes, that sounds like Tyler Morrison. You know him. I know his family. The Morrisons have been trying to acquire your grandmother's property for over 20 years. They've made offers, threats, legal challenges. Eleanor refused them all. Why? What's so special about the property? How? Benjamin leaned back in his chair. That's the question, isn't it? Officially, it's just land. 200 acres, a Victorian mansion, a defunct vineyard. Worth a few million at most. But Harrison Morrison has offered as much as $15 million over the years, and Eleanor always said no. $15 million for a crumbling mansion and a dead vineyard. Which suggests that someone believes there's something more valuable there. Something worth far more than $15 million. Benjamin slid a document across the desk. Your grandmother left everything to you, free and clear. No debts, no mortgages, just yours. Madison stared at the deed. Her name in neat letters, Madison Elena Collins, sole heir. There's also this. Benjamin produced a small wooden box. Inside, cushioned in velvet, was a silver pendant on a delicate chain. It was shaped like an elongated teardrop, beautiful but strange. Eleanor's instructions were very specific. This goes to you and only you. She said you would understand what it opens when the time was right. What it opens, it's a piece of jewelry. Is it? Benjamin held it up to the light. Look at the shape, Miss Collins, the way it narrows to a point. Does that look like a pendant to you, or does it look like a key? Madison took the pendant and examined it. He was right. The shape was unusual, not decorative but functional, like it was designed to fit into something. Mr. Ward, what was my grandmother hiding? I don't know. In 40 years, she never told me, but I know it was important enough to spend her entire life protecting. He looked at her belly. And I believe she was waiting for you to inherit it. Someone who would need it. Someone who would fight for it. Why me? She barely knew me. She knew enough. She knew you were strong. She knew you were stubborn. And she knew that when the time came, you would be ready. He paused. She also knew about the Morrison family. She warned me before she died that they would come for you, that they would try to take everything. They already are. Tyler is claiming paternal rights to whatever my baby inherits, and Richard Ashworth just offered me $2 million to walk away. Benjamin's expression hardened. Ashworth works for Harrison Morrison. That offer was a test, Miss Collins. They wanted to see how desperate you are. I'm 7 months pregnant, about to be evicted, and I have $47. I'm pretty desperate. Then it's a good thing your grandmother planned ahead. Benjamin opened another folder. There's a trust account attached to the estate. Your grandmother has been depositing money into it for 30 years. It's meant to cover expenses while you settle in. Property taxes, basic repairs, living costs. How much? $300,000. Madison's breath caught. $300,000? Your grandmother wasn't rich, Miss Collins, but she was patient, and she wanted to make sure you had everything you needed to fight back. Madison drove to Whitmore Vineyard with $300,000 in a trust account she hadn't known existed and a pendant around her neck that might be a key to something she didn't understand. The GPS led her down a private road lined with oak trees, then through rows of overgrown grapevines that looked like they hadn't been touched in decades. Then she saw the house. She stopped the car in the middle of the road and sat there, unable to move. It was enormous, and it was falling apart. But underneath the decay, she could see what it had been. What it could be again. Her phone buzzed. Tyler arrived. Yet, I know exactly where you are. GPS tracker on your car. You should really be more careful about who you let access your phone. See you soon. Madison's heart stopped. GPS tracker? He had put a GPS tracker on her car. He knew everywhere she had been, everywhere she was going. She jumped out of this car and ran as fast as a 7 months pregnant woman could run to examine the undercarriage. There it was. A small black box attached to the frame with a magnet. She ripped it off and threw it as far as she could into the vineyard. Her phone buzzed again. Tyler. That was rude. But don't worry, I have other ways of watching you. That mansion has been empty for 50 years, Madison. No security system, no neighbors, no one to hear you scream. Think about that tonight. Madison's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. She blocked the number, but she knew it wouldn't matter. He would find another one. He always did. She walked toward the mansion on legs that felt like water. The key Benjamin had given her fit the front door, but the door was swollen with age. It took all her weight to force it open, and when it finally gave way, she stumbled into a foyer filled with darkness and dust. "Hello," her voice echoed through empty rooms. "Is anyone here?" Silence. Just the sound of her own breathing and the creak of old floorboards. She found a light switch and flipped it. Nothing. No power. Of course there was no power. The house had been empty for 50 years. Madison pulled out her phone and used the flashlight to navigate. The place was a disaster, sheets over furniture, cobwebs everywhere, debris on the floor. But even through the decay, she could see the bones of something magnificent. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number? She answered without thinking. "Leave me alone, Tyler." "Miss Collins," a woman's voice, elderly, trembling. "My name is Dorothy Whitman. I was your grandmother's neighbor. I saw your car coming up the drive." Madison exhaled. "Mrs. Whitman, I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else." "Someone's been bothering you. Is it the Morrison boy?" "How did you know?" "Because he's been bothering everyone in this valley for months. Asking questions about Eleanor, about the property, about what's hidden here." Dorothy's voice dropped. "Your grandmother warned me this would happen. She said when she died, they would come. She said I should tell you something." "Tell me what?" "The basement. There's something in the basement that Eleanor protected her whole life. Something the Morrisons have been trying to find for 60 years. She said you would know how to open it. She said the key was already around your neck." Madison touched the pendant. "Mrs. Whitman, what's in the basement?" "I don't know, dear. Eleanor never told me. But whatever it is, it's worth killing for. That's what happened in 1943, you know? The fire that killed Eleanor's mother. It wasn't an accident." Madison's blood went cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying be careful, Miss Collins. The Morrison family has been trying to get into that house for 3 generations. They burned it once. They'll burn it again if they have to." The line went dead. Madison stood in the dark foyer, phone pressed against her ear, heart pounding. The Morrison family had killed her great-grandmother. They had burned the house trying to find whatever was hidden in the basement, and now they were coming for her. The baby kicked. "I know," Madison whispered. "I know we should run. But where would we go?" She walked through the house, flashlight cutting through darkness. The kitchen was a disaster. The dining room was filled with broken furniture. The parlor had water damage so severe the ceiling had partially collapsed. Then she found the basement door. It was tucked under the staircase, half hidden in shadows. A simple wooden door with an old iron handle. Madison reached for it, then stopped. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "Don't ever go to that house. Promise me." But her mother was dead, and Madison was alone, and the Morrisons were coming. She pulled open the door. The stairs descended into absolute darkness. The smell was different here, cold, ancient, like the earth itself. Madison put one foot on the first step. The wood groaned but held. She descended slowly, one hand on the wall, flashlight gripped tight. The baby shifted restlessly as if sensing danger. The basement was vast, far larger than she expected. Her flashlight found massive oak barrels, wooden crates with foreign labels, shelves lined with dusty bottles. And at the far end, half hidden in shadows, a wrought iron gate. Madison moved toward it, heart pounding. The gate was ornate, beautiful, secured with a padlock that looked heavier than anything else in the basement. She examined the keyhole. Teardrop-shaped. Wide at the top, narrowing to a point at the bottom. Her hand went to the pendant around her neck. She unclasped it and held it up to the lock. Perfect match. "Okay, Eleanor," she whispered. "Show me what you died protecting." She inserted the pendant into the lock and turned. The mechanism clicked. The padlock fell open. Madison removed the chain and pulled on the gate. It swung outward with a groan that echoed through the basement like a voice from the dead. What she saw behind it stopped her heart. A vault. Climate-controlled, professionally maintained, filled with wooden crates arranged in precise rows. The space hummed with electricity from hidden generators. This wasn't abandoned. This wasn't forgotten. This was being actively protected. Madison stepped inside. Flashlight sweeping across the crates. Dozens of them. Maybe 100. Each marked with numbers and dates from the 1920s. She approached the nearest crate and lifted its loose lid. Documents. Hundreds of documents preserved in archival sleeves printed on heavy paper with ornate borders and official seals. She pulled one out and read it. Wine bond. Vintage reserve certificate. Bearer instrument. Principal sum $5,000. Date of issue 1923. Madison opened another crate. More bonds. Another. More still. Each crate containing hundreds of certificates, each certificate representing thousands of dollars. Her hands shook as she did the math. If each bond was worth $5,000 at face value and there were hundreds of bonds in each crate and there were nearly 100 crates. Oh my God, her phone buzzed. She had service down here somehow. The message was from Benjamin Ward. Benjamin, Miss Collins, call me immediately. A man named Tyler Morrison just left my office. He claims paternal rights to your unborn child's inheritance. He also claims to have evidence that your grandmother's estate was obtained through fraud. He's threatening to have the entire inheritance frozen pending investigation. Madison read the message twice. Tyler wasn't just harassing her anymore, he was trying to steal everything. She looked at the crates surrounding her. Whatever these bonds were, worth millions, tens of millions, maybe more, Tyler Morrison wanted it. His family had been willing to commit murder to get it. They had burned this house once. They had killed her great-grandmother. And now they were coming for her. Madison straightened up, one hand pressed against her belly. Listen to me, she said to her unborn daughter. Your great-great-grandmother built this place. Your great-grandmother died protecting it. Your grandmother spent her whole life guarding it, and now it's ours. The baby kicked. I don't know what these bonds are worth. I don't know what the Morrison family is planning, but I know one thing: they are not taking this from us. Not today. Not ever. She picked up her phone and called Benjamin Ward. Mr. Ward, it's Madison Collins. Tyler Morrison wants a fight. He's going to get one. But first, I need you to tell me everything you know about the fire of 1943, because I think my grandmother left me more than just money. I think she left me proof of murder. The line was silent for a long moment. Miss Collins, Benjamin said slowly, I think you'd better come to my office. There are things I need to show you, things Eleanor kept hidden for 60 years, things that could destroy the Morrison family or get you killed. Madison looked around the vault one more time. The crates, the bonds, the secrets her grandmother had protected her entire life. I'll be there in an hour, she said. And Mr. Ward, call your best security contact, because if Tyler Morrison knows I'm here, he's already on his way. She hung up and walked toward the stairs. Behind her, the vault waited in silence, its secrets finally ready to be revealed. Above her, the old mansion creaked and groaned. And somewhere in the distance, she could have sworn she heard a car engine approaching. Madison climbed the basement stairs faster than her pregnant body should have allowed. The cramps in her back screamed for attention, but she ignored them. The baby kicked frantically, and she pressed her hand against her belly. Almost there, she whispered. Almost safe. She reached the top of the stairs and pulled out her phone. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. 1 voicemail. She played it. Tyler's voice filled the basement doorway. Madison, I know you found it. I know you're in that house right now, standing in front of something worth more than you can imagine. Here's the thing, I don't need to take it from you legally. My family has other methods that worked very well in 1943. A pause. Look outside, sweetheart. I'm closer than you think. Madison ran to the nearest window and rubbed the grime away with her sleeve. A black SUV was parked at the end of the driveway. 2 men in dark suits stood beside it, staring at the house. Her phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. I see you found my welcoming committee, Tyler said. Don't worry, they're not going to hurt you, yet. They're just here to make sure you don't leave with anything that belongs to me. Nothing here belongs to you, Tyler. This is my grandmother's property, my inheritance. Your grandmother stole those bonds from my family in 1943. She murdered my great-grandfather and took what was rightfully ours. Everything in that vault belongs to the Morrisons. Madison's mind raced. That's a lie? Is it ask Benjamin Ward about the fire? Ask him who really died that night? Ask him why Eleanor Collins spent 50 years hiding in a cottage while a fortune sat in her basement? You're trying to manipulate me. I'm trying to save you, Madison. You're in over your head. You have no idea what those bonds are worth or what my family is willing to do to get them back. But I'm offering you a way out. Walk away. Sign over the property. I'll make sure you're taken care of. You and the baby. Taken care of? Like your family took care of my great-grandmother. Silence on the other end. That's what I thought, Madison said. You're not offering me a way out. You're threatening me, just like your family threatened Eleanor. Just like they threatened everyone who stood in their way. Madison, no, I'm done being scared of you. I'm done running. You want what's in this house. Come and take it. But know this, I'm going to fight you with everything I have. And if anything happens to me, Benjamin Ward has instructions to release every document, every piece of evidence, everything Eleanor collected about your family's crimes to every newspaper and law enforcement agency in the state." She hung up before he could respond. Her hands were shaking, her heart was pounding, but for the first time in months, she didn't feel helpless. She felt angry. Madison walked to the front door and opened it. The two men in suits straightened up, surprised. "Tell Tyler Morrison I'm not going anywhere," she called out. "Tell him this is my house, my property, my inheritance. And if he wants to take it from me, he's going to have to do it in court, in public, where everyone can see exactly what kind of man he really is." She slammed the door and locked it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Benjamin Ward. "Benjamin, I just received a very angry call from Harrison Morrison's lawyers. They're threatening to file an emergency injunction to freeze the estate. I told them to go ahead and try. Your grandmother's will is airtight. They have no legal standing." Madison typed back, "What about the bonds? Are they legitimate?" "Benjamin, that's what I need to talk to you about. There's a reason the Morrisons want them so badly. A reason Eleanor spent her whole life protecting them. It's not just about money, Miss Collins. It's about proof." Madison, "Proof of what, Benjamin? Proof that the Morrison family fortune was built on fraud, theft, and murder. Those bonds aren't just valuable, they're evidence. Evidence that could destroy one of the most powerful families in California." Madison stared at her phone. Evidence. Her grandmother hadn't just left her money. She'd left her a weapon. She walked back to the basement door and descended the stairs one more time. The vault was waiting its secrets illuminated by the soft glow of hidden lights. Madison approached one of the crates and pulled out a handful of documents. She spread them on top of a barrel and examined them more closely. Each bond had a name printed at the bottom. The original purchaser. The person who had invested money in exchange for future returns. She read the names. William Morrison. Elizabeth Morrison. James Morrison. The Morrison family. Tyler's ancestors. They had bought these bonds nearly a century ago. But if the bonds belonged to the Morrisons, why were they in Eleanor's vault? How had her grandmother gotten them, and why had she spent her entire life hiding them? Madison's phone rang. Benjamin Ward. "Miss Collins, I need to tell you something. Something Eleanor made me promise to keep secret until you found the vault." "Tell me." In 1943, the Morrison family was on the verge of bankruptcy. The war had destroyed their investments. They needed cash desperately, so they went to your great-grandmother, Charlotte Whitmore, and demanded she return the bonds they had entrusted to her family for safekeeping during Prohibition. The bonds belonged to the Morrisons. Originally, yes, but during Prohibition, many wealthy families hid their wine investments with vineyard owners they trusted. The Morrisons gave their bonds to the Whitmore family in 1920, expecting to retrieve them when Prohibition ended. But when they came back in 1933, Charlotte refused to return them. Why? Because she had discovered something. The bonds weren't legitimate investments. They were part of a massive fraud scheme, which the Morrisons had been running for years. Fake vineyards, fake wine production, real money stolen from hundreds of investors. Charlotte had proof. Documents, ledgers, correspondence. She threatened to expose everything if the Morrisons didn't leave her alone. Madison's head was spinning. So the Morrisons murdered her to keep her quiet. They burned the house in 1943. Charlotte died in the fire, but Eleanor survived, and she saved everything: the bonds, the documents, the proof. She's been guarding it ever since, waiting for the right moment to use it. Why didn't she expose them herself? Benjamin was quiet for a long moment. Because the Morrisons threatened to kill you. What? When you were born, Miss Collins, Eleanor received a letter from Harrison Morrison's father. It said that if she ever revealed what she knew, they would destroy everyone she loved. Her daughter, her granddaughter, everyone. Madison felt like she had been punched in the chest. That's why my mother left. That's why Eleanor never contacted me. She was protecting you. By staying away, by keeping the secret, she was keeping you safe. But she always planned to give you the truth eventually, when you were ready, when you needed it. And now? Now the Morrisons are desperate. Harrison Morrison is running for governor next year. If those documents become public, his campaign is finished. His family is finished. They'll do anything to prevent that. Madison looked at the crates surrounding her. Hundreds of bonds. Thousands of documents. A century of secrets. Then I need to move faster than they do, she said. Tell me what to do, Mr. Ward. Tell me how to protect this evidence and destroy the people who killed my great-grandmother. Come to my office tomorrow morning. I've been preparing for this moment for 40 years. Eleanor and I developed a plan. A way to release everything publicly where the Morrisons can't suppress it. Why tomorrow? Why not now? Because the documents need to be authenticated first, and because I need to make sure you understand what you're getting into. Once you start this, Miss Collins, there's no going back. The Morrisons will come after you with everything they have. Legal attacks, financial attacks, maybe worse. Are you prepared for that? Madison looked down at her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant, alone, terrified, but not helpless. Not anymore. My grandmother spent 50 years protecting this secret. My great-grandmother died for it. I'm not going to let their sacrifice be meaningless. Then I'll see you tomorrow, and Miss Collins, lock every door. Don't answer for anyone you don't know. The Morrisons are watching. Madison hung up and climbed the basement stairs. She walked through the dark mansion, checking windows, testing locks. Most of them were broken, rusted, useless. If someone wanted to get in, they could. But they wouldn't. Not tonight. Because tomorrow, everything was going to change. She found the sitting room she had identified earlier and set up her sleeping bag. The baby shifted and kicked restless. I know, Madison whispered. I know you can feel it. Something big is coming. Something that's going to change everything. She lay down and stared at the ceiling. Outside, she could hear the SUV still idling at the end of the driveway. Tyler's men watching. Waiting. Let them watch, she thought. Let them report back to their boss that she was alone, vulnerable, unprotected. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Eleanor Collins had spent her entire life preparing for this moment. She had gathered evidence, protected secrets, waited for the right person to carry on the fight. And now that person was here. Madison touched her belly where her daughter was kicking. We're going to be okay, she whispered into the darkness. We're going to be more than okay. We're going to win. Her phone buzzed one last time. A text from Tyler. Tyler, this isn't over. Madison, it's just beginning. She typed back 2 words before turning off her phone. Madison, I know. Then she closed her eyes and dreamed a fire of bonds of secrets finally ready to be told. Tomorrow the war would begin. Madison woke to the sound of breaking glass. She sat up in her sleeping bag, heart-pounding hand instinctively covering her belly. The baby kicked frantically, responding to her mother's fear. Another crash. Somewhere in the back of the house. Madison grabbed her phone. 5:47 a.m. The screen showed 12 missed calls from unknown numbers and 1 text from Benjamin Ward sent at midnight. Benjamin, don't go to the mansion alone. Call me first thing in the morning. Something has changed. Too late for that warning now. She heard footsteps, heavy boots on hardwood floors. More than one person. Madison pulled herself up as quietly as she could, ignoring the protest of her aching back. She needed to get to the basement, the vault, the evidence. Check upstairs, a man's voice called out. She has to be here somewhere. Her car's still outside. Madison moved toward the basement door, staying close to the wall, avoiding the floorboards she had learned were creaky. Every step felt like an eternity. The baby shifted, and Madison pressed her hand against her belly, silently begging her daughter to stay still. She reached the basement door and eased it open. The hinges groaned. Did you hear that? Madison didn't wait. She slipped through the door and descended the stairs as fast as her pregnant body would allow, one hand on the wall, the other clutching her phone. Behind her, she heard the basement door slam open. She's down here? Madison reached the bottom and ran toward the vault. Her flashlight app illuminated the path she had memorized last night. Barrels, crates, shelves of dusty bottles. The iron gate was still open. She had left it that way. She ducked inside the vault and looked for somewhere to hide. The crates were stacked high, creating narrow passages between them. She squeezed into a gap between 2 rows and pressed herself against the wall. Footsteps on the basement stairs. 2 sets, maybe 3. Spread out, she can't have gone far. Madison held her breath. Her phone screen glowed in the darkness, and she quickly turned it off. The baby kicked again hard, and Madison bit her lip to keep from gasping. The footsteps grew closer. A flashlight beam swept across the vault entrance. What the hell is this place, Porky? Forget the architecture. Find the woman. Madison heard them enter the vault, heard their boots on the concrete floor, heard their breathing heavy and eager. One of them was close. Very close. She could see his shadow on the crate beside her. Her phone vibrated. She had forgotten to turn off the vibration. The shadow stopped. Did you hear that? Madison squeezed her eyes shut. This was it. They were going to find her. They were going to... A loud crash echoed from somewhere above, the sound of more glass breaking followed by shouting. What the hell? Someone else is here. Go check it out. The shadows retreated. Madison heard footsteps running toward the stairs, then up, then away. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Not until she counted to 60. Then she pulled out her phone and checked the message that had almost gotten her killed. Dorothy Whitman, I saw cars at your driveway. Created a distraction. Back door is clear. Run now. Madison didn't hesitate. She squeezed out of her hiding spot and moved toward the basement's back corner where she had noticed a second staircase yesterday, a narrow servant's passage that led up to the kitchen. She climbed as quickly as she could, emerged into the destroyed kitchen, and found the back door hanging open. Dorothy Whitman's distraction. Madison ran. She didn't stop until she reached the edge of the property where a rusted gate led to a dirt road she hadn't noticed before. Her car was trapped at the front of the house, surrounded by whoever had broken in, but Dorothy had mentioned the back door was clear. Her phone rang. Dorothy Whitman. Are you out? I'm out. Thank you. How did you know? I've been watching that house for 50 years, dear. I know when something's wrong. Now listen carefully. There's a blue pickup truck parked behind my barn. Keys are in the ignition. Take it and go straight to Benjamin Ward's office. Don't stop for anything. Dorothy, they'll come after you. Let them try. I'm 87 years old with a shotgun and nothing left to lose. Your grandmother was my best friend. I'm not letting her granddaughter get killed the same way her mother did. Madison ran. The pickup truck was exactly where Dorothy said it would be. Madison climbed in, started the engine, and tore down the dirt road at a speed that made her pregnant belly protest with every bump. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She answered. Madison. Tyler's voice was ice. That was a very stupid thing you just did. Breaking into my house was a stupid thing you did. I didn't break in. I sent people to retrieve property that belongs to my family. You're the one who's trespassing. I have a deed that says otherwise. Deeds can be challenged, wills can be contested, and pregnant women can have accidents. He let that hang in the air. Where are you going, Madison? None of your business. Let me guess. Benjamin Ward's office. You think he can protect you. You think those documents in the vault can save you. But here's what you don't understand. My family has been fighting this battle for 80 years. We've destroyed everyone who stood in our way. Your great-grandmother, your grandmother's reputation, your mother's relationship with her own family. Do you really think you're going to be different? Yes, Tyler laughed. Such confidence, such stupidity. Let me tell you what's going to happen. My lawyers are filing an emergency injunction this morning. By noon, every asset in Eleanor Collins' estate will be frozen. You won't be able to touch those bonds, sell that property, or access a single penny from that trust account. You'll be broke, pregnant, and homeless. Again. Your lawyers can try. They won't just try Madison. They'll succeed, because I have something you don't have. What's that? Patience. My family has been waiting 80 years to get those bonds back. We can wait a little longer. Can you? Can that baby inside you wait? Can you survive another month, another week, another day without money or support? Madison gripped the steering wheel tighter. I survived you walking out on me. I survived losing my job, my apartment, my entire life. I'll survive this too. We'll see. Tyler's voice dropped to a whisper. Check your rearview mirror, sweetheart. Madison looked. A black SUV was following her, maintaining a steady distance. That's not a threat, Tyler said. That's a promise. Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'll be watching. And when you finally break, and you will break, I'll be there to pick up the pieces. He hung up. Madison drove faster. Benjamin Ward's office was locked when she arrived at 7:15 a.m. She pounded on the door until a light came on upstairs, and Benjamin appeared at the window looking disheveled and alarmed. Miss Collins, what's wrong? They broke into the mansion. Tyler sent men to find me. I barely got out. Benjamin's face went pale. He disappeared from the window, and a moment later the door opened. Inside, quickly. Madison stumbled into the office, her legs finally giving out. She collapsed into a chair, breathing hard, one hand pressed against her belly. Are you hurt? Is the baby okay? I think so. I don't know. I've been running. She gasped as a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. Benjamin's eyes widened. That doesn't look okay. I'm calling an ambulance. No, if I go to a hospital, Tyler will know exactly where I am. He has people everywhere. Miss Collins, you're 7 months pregnant and clearly in distress. This isn't negotiable. Then call a doctor who makes house calls. Someone you trust? Someone the Morrisons don't own. Benjamin hesitated, then nodded. I know someone. Wait here. He disappeared into the back of the office. Madison heard him making calls, his voice low and urgent. She tried to focus on breathing, on staying calm, on not panicking her daughter more than she already had. The baby kicked weakly. A reassurance. A promise. "We're going to be okay," Madison whispered. "We have to be." Benjamin returned with a glass of water and a worried expression. "Dr. Sarah Chen is on her way. She's delivered half the babies in this county, and she's no friend of the Morrison family. Now tell me exactly what happened." Madison told him everything. The break-in, the voices, hiding in the vault, Dorothy's distraction, Tyler's call, the SUV following her. Benjamin listened without interrupting. When she finished, he sat back in his chair and rubbed his face. "This is worse than I expected. They're escalating faster than Eleanor predicted." "Eleanor predicted this. She predicted everything, Miss Collins. The break-in, the legal challenges, the intimidation tactics. She spent 50 years preparing for this moment." He pulled a thick folder from his desk drawer. "She left this for you, instructions for every scenario she could imagine, including this one." Madison took the folder. Her grandmother's handwriting filled page after page, detailed plans, contingencies, names of allies and enemies. She really thought of everything. Eleanor was the most careful person I ever knew. She had to be. The Morrisons killed her mother right in front of her. She watched the house burn, watched her mother trapped inside, watched men in suits drive away while the fire department let everything turn to ash. Benjamin's voice hardened. She never forgot, and she never forgave. Why didn't she expose them herself? She had 50 years. "Because of you." Madison looked up. "When you were born, Harrison Morrison sent Eleanor a letter. I have a copy somewhere in these files. It said that if she ever revealed what she knew, they would ensure that you never lived to see your 5th birthday. Not a threat against Eleanor, a threat against a newborn child." Madison felt sick. "That's why my mother left. That's why she made me promise never to come here." "Your mother knew about the letter. She wanted to take you far away somewhere the Morrisons couldn't reach." Eleanor agreed. "Better to have a granddaughter who hated her than a granddaughter who was dead." "But she's dead now. Eleanor's gone. Why am I still a target?" Benjamin leaned forward. "Because the Morrisons don't just want the bonds, Miss Collins. They want to destroy the evidence. Every document in that vault, every record of what they did, if it becomes public, their entire empire collapses. Harrison Morrison is running for governor. His son is poised to take over the family business. They can't afford for the truth to come out. Not now. Not ever." A knock at the door made them both jump. Benjamin checked the window, then relaxed. "It's Dr. Chen." "Sung." The next hour was a blur of medical examination and worried questions. Dr. Chen was a small woman in her 60s with gentle hands and sharp eyes. She checked Madison's blood pressure, listened to the baby's heartbeat, felt for contractions. "The baby is fine," she said finally. "Strong heartbeat, good position, but you young lady are not fine. Your blood pressure is dangerously high. You've been under extreme stress and your body is telling you to stop." "I can't stop. The Morrisons can wait until you're not at risk of preeclampsia." Dr. Chen's voice was firm. "You need rest, real rest, not hiding in a crumbling mansion while criminals break down your door." "Where am I supposed to go? They're watching my grandmother's property. They're following me everywhere." Benjamin and Dr. Chen exchanged a look. "There might be a place," Benjamin said slowly. "Eleanor prepared a safe house. She never told me where it was, but the instructions should be in that folder." Madison flipped through the pages until she found what she was looking for. An address in St. Helena, about 30 minutes away. A note in Eleanor's handwriting for when the wolves come. "Trust Sarah. She'll get you there safely." "Who's Sarah?" Madison asked. Dr. Chen smiled. "That would be me. Eleanor and I were friends for 40 years. She saved my daughter's life, once paid for medical treatments my family couldn't afford. I always told her I'd repay the favor someday." "Today's that day," Benjamin said. "Take her to the safe house. I'll handle the legal side." "What about the bonds, the evidence?" "I have copies of everything, Miss Collins. Your grandmother made sure of it. Digital scans stored in multiple secure locations ready to be released at a moment's notice. The originals are important, but they're not irreplaceable." Madison felt some of the tension leave her shoulders. Eleanor really did think of everything. She had 50 years to prepare, and she never stopped believing that someday someone would come to finish what she started. Benjamin smiled gently. "That someone is you, Miss Collins, but you can't fight if you're dead. Let Dr. Chen get you somewhere safe. We'll regroup in a few days." Dr. Chen's car was a modest sedan, nothing that would attract attention. Madison lay across the back seat, trying to keep her head below window level, while Dr. Chen drove carefully through the morning traffic. "How long have you known about the Morrisons?" Madison asked. "Long enough to know they're dangerous. Eleanor used to tell me stories late at night after too much wine." Stories about what happened in 1943. Stories about what her mother discovered. What did she discover? The Morrison family fortune was built on fraud. During Prohibition, they created fake vineyards, issued fake bonds, collected millions from investors. When Prohibition ended and investors wanted their money back, the Morrisons had nothing to give them, so they started killing anyone who asked too many questions. And my great-grandmother asked questions. Your great-grandmother did more than ask. She collected evidence, ledgers, correspondence, forged documents. She was planning to go to the authorities when the fire happened. Madison closed her eyes. They murdered her to keep her quiet. They thought they destroyed everything, but Charlotte had already given the evidence to Eleanor, her daughter. Eleanor was only 23 years old. She took everything and hid it in that vault, and she spent the rest of her life protecting it. Why didn't she just release it, go public? Because the Morrisons owned everything. The police, the newspapers, the politicians. In 1943, nobody would have believed a young woman accusing one of California's most prominent families of fraud and murder. Eleanor knew she needed to wait for the right moment, a moment when the evidence couldn't be suppressed. And that moment is now. Dr. Chen glanced in the rearview mirror. Harrison Morrison is running for governor. He's held press conferences about transparency, about fighting corruption, about restoring trust in government. If those documents become public now, they won't just destroy his campaign, they'll destroy his family's reputation forever. Madison's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Unknown Dr. Chen's car, blue sedan, license plate 4KL892, currently heading north on Highway 29. Did you really think we wouldn't be watching the lawyer's office? Madison's blood went cold. They know where we are. Dr. Chen's hands tightened on the wheel. What? Tyler, he knows what car we're in. He knows where we're going. Dr. Chen didn't hesitate. She took the next exit and pulled into a crowded parking lot. Get out. There's a women's shelter 2 blocks from here. Ask for Maria Santos. Tell her Sarah Chen sent you. What about you? I'll lead them away. Drive in circles until they realize you're not in the car. Dr. Chen, go now. Every second you waste is a second closer to them catching you. Madison climbed out of the car and watched Dr. Chen drive away. Within minutes, she saw a black SUV pass by, following the blue sedan. Madison walked. The women's shelter was a nondescript building wedged between a laundromat and a pawn shop. Madison knocked on the door, and a woman with tired eyes and strong arms answered. Can I help you? I'm looking for Maria Santos. Dr. Sarah Chen sent me. The woman's expression changed instantly. Come in, quickly. The inside of the shelter was warm and crowded. Women of all ages moved through the space, some with children, some alone. Madison felt out of place in her dusty clothes and desperate expression. Maria Santos appeared a woman in her 50s with silver hair and a no-nonsense attitude. You're Eleanor's granddaughter. How did you know? Sarah called ahead, said you were in trouble, said the Morrisons were hunting you. Maria took Madison's arm and led her down a hallway. We've been expecting someone like you for years. Eleanor helped fund this shelter. She said someday a pregnant woman would show up needing protection. She said it would be family. Madison felt tears threatening. I never knew her. I never got the chance. She knew you. She talked about you all the time, showed us pictures, shared news clippings. She was so proud of you, even from a distance. Maria opened a door to a small, clean room. This is yours for as long as you need it. The Morrisons don't know this place exists. You're safe here. Madison sank onto the bed, and exhaustion finally catching up with her. Thank you? Don't thank me yet. You're safe, but you're not free. The Morrisons won't stop until they get what they want. Maria paused at the door. Eleanor left something here for you, something she said you'd need when the time came. She produced a small lockbox and handed it to Madison. Inside was a flash drive and a handwritten note. Madison read the note. My dearest Madison, if you're reading this, then the worst has happened and the best is about to begin. This flash drive contains everything, every document, every photograph, every piece of evidence I collected over 50 years. The originals are in the vault, but this is your insurance. The password is your mother's middle name. Release it all if anything happens to me. Release it all if the Morrisons come for you. Release it all and burn them to the ground. Madison looked at the flash drive. The password. Her mother's middle name? Elena. Her middle name was Elena because her mother's middle name was Elena. Madison inserted the flash drive into her phone adapter and typed the password. Files began loading. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Documents, photographs, audio recordings, video, testimony. She opened the first file and began to read. And what she read changed everything she thought she knew about her family, the Morrisons, and the truth that had been hidden for 80 years. The documents told a story of greed, betrayal, and murder that stretched back to 1920. William Morrison Tyler's great-great-grandfather had been a minor businessman with major ambitions. When Prohibition began, he saw an opportunity. Wine was illegal, but wine investments were not. People could still buy bonds tied to vineyard operations, bonds that would pay out when Prohibition eventually ended. Morrison created dozens of fake vineyards on paper. He issued thousands of bonds. He collected millions from investors who believed they were buying into legitimate wine operations. But the vineyards didn't exist. The wine was never produced. The money disappeared into Morrison's pockets. When Prohibition ended in 1933, investors came to collect. Morrison had nothing to give them, so he started paying people off, bribing officials, threatening anyone who asked too many questions. And when threats didn't work, people started dying. Madison scrolled through the evidence. Forged documents in Morrison's handwriting. Ledgers showing the flow of fraudulent money. Letters between Morrison and local officials discussing how to silence troublesome investors. Then she found the file labeled Whitmore Fire 1943. She opened it and found photographs. Crime scene photographs that had never been released to the public. Her great-grandmother Charlotte Whitmore had been tied to a chair before the fire started. Madison's hands shook. Her great-grandmother hadn't died in an accident. She had been murdered, executed, and the evidence had been covered up for 80 years. There was more. Witness statements taken by Eleanor in the years after the fire. Servants who had seen Morrison's men arrive that night. Neighbors who had heard screams before the flames appeared. A firefighter who had been paid to delay the response. All of them dead now. All of them silenced. But their words remained recorded by a young woman who had watched her mother burn and sworn to make the killers pay. Madison kept reading until her eyes burned and her back ached. The baby kicked restlessly as if she could sense the darkness her mother was uncovering. Finally, Madison found the last file. A video labeled Eleanor's Testimony 2024. She pressed play. Her grandmother's face appeared on the screen. Eleanor Collins, 93 years old, frail but fierce, sitting in what looked like the cottage on the vineyard property. My name is Eleanor Catherine Collins. I am the last living witness to the murder of Charlotte Whitmore by agents of the Morrison family on the night of November 14, 1943. I have spent 80 years gathering evidence of this crime and the fraud that preceded it. I am leaving this testimony for my granddaughter Madison in the hope that she will have the courage to do what I could not bring the Morrisons to justice and expose their crimes to the world. Eleanor's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Madison, if you're watching this, it means I'm gone. It means the burden has passed to you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to help you. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth while I was alive. But I want you to know that everything I did for you, for your mother, for every woman in our family who suffered because of Morrison greed. She leaned closer to the camera. The bonds in the vault are worth millions, but they're also evidence. Proof that the Morrison fortune was built on fraud. Proof that they killed to protect their secrets. Use them, Madison. Use everything. Don't let them win. Eleanor smiled, and for a moment Madison could see the young woman she had been. Strong, determined, unbroken. I love you, granddaughter. I always have. Make them pay. The video ended. Madison sat in silence, tears streaming down her face. Her grandmother had spent 80 years waiting for this moment. 80 years of loneliness, of fear, of watching from a distance while her family fell apart. And now it was Madison's turn. Her phone buzzed. A text from Benjamin Ward. Benjamin, the injunction failed. Judge threw it out. The Morrisons are regrouping. You have maybe 48 hours before they try something else. Are you safe? Madison typed back, I'm safe. And I found everything. Eleanor left me a flash drive. I know what happened. Benjamin, then you know what we have to do. Madison, yes? Benjamin, are you ready? Madison looked at the evidence on her screen. 80 years of secrets. 80 years of pain. 80 years of waiting. She thought about her great-grandmother tied to a chair watching flames approach. She thought about her grandmother spending a lifetime alone protecting the truth. She thought about her mother running from shadows, never understanding why. She thought about her daughter still unborn, still innocent, still deserving of a world without Morrison threats hanging over her head. Madison, I'm ready. She picked up her phone and made a call. Benjamin, it's Madison. I want to set up a press conference tomorrow. I want to release everything. Silence on the other end. Miss Collins, once you do this, there's no going back. The Morrisons will come after you with everything they have. They've been coming after my family for 80 years. It's time we started fighting back. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? Madison looked at the video, still frozen on her grandmother's face. Strong, determined, unbroken. My grandmother waited her whole life for this moment. My great-grandmother died for it. I'm not going to let their sacrifice mean nothing. Then I'll make the arrangements. Tomorrow at noon, the Sonoma County Courthouse. Be ready for war. Madison hung up and placed her hand on her belly. Listen to me, she whispered to her daughter. Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow we stop running and start fighting. Tomorrow we make them pay for everything they've done. The baby kicked once, strong, determined, like her mother, like her grandmother, like every woman in the Collins family who had refused to break. Madison laid back on the bed and closed her eyes. Tomorrow the war would truly begin, and she was ready. The morning of the press conference, Madison woke to someone pounding on her door. She grabbed her phone. 6:17 a.m. The press conference was scheduled for noon, 6 hours away. Madison? Maria's voice was urgent. You need to see this, now. Madison opened the door. Maria's face was pale, her hands shaking as she held out a tablet. It's all over the news. The headline hit Madison like a physical blow. Pregnant woman accused of elder abuse forged will suspected in Collins' estate case. Madison's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the bed, staring at the screen. They're saying I manipulated my grandmother, that I forged the will, that I'm trying to steal from the Morrison family. Keep reading. Madison scrolled down. The article quoted unnamed sources close to the investigation. It mentioned her financial troubles, her eviction, her unemployment. It painted a picture of a desperate woman who had exploited a dying old lady for money. And at the bottom, a quote from Tyler Morrison, "This is a tragedy. Madison Collins took advantage of a vulnerable elderly woman, and now she's trying to cover her crimes by attacking my family. We will pursue justice through every legal avenue available." Madison threw the tablet across the room. He's lying. He's lying about everything. Of course he's lying, but the damage is done. Every news outlet in California is running this story. By the time your press conference starts, half the state will think you're a criminal. Madison's phone rang. Benjamin Ward. I saw it, she said before he could speak. It's worse than you think. The Morrisons have filed a criminal complaint. They're accusing you of fraud forgery and elder abuse. There's a warrant being prepared. A warrant? They can't arrest me for inheriting my grandmother's estate. They can arrest you while they investigate. That's the point. If you're in custody, you can't hold a press conference. You can't release the evidence. You can't do anything except sit in a cell while their lawyers figure out how to make this go away. Madison's mind raced. How long do I have? The warrant could be issued any minute. Maybe it already has been. Madison, you need to move. Now. Where? They're watching everywhere. The courthouse. If you can get there before they arrest you, if you can start the press conference before they serve the warrant, they can't stop you. Freedom of the press, public forum. Once those documents are out, it doesn't matter what they charge you with. Madison looked at Maria. I need to get to the courthouse. They'll be watching the roads. Then we won't use the roads. Maria's eyes widened. The service tunnels. This building connects to the old downtown through maintenance passages. We use them to move women when their abusers are watching the exits. Madison grabbed her bag, the flash drive, everything she needed. Show me. 7:23 a.m. Madison moved through underground passages that smelled like rust and old water. Maria led the way with a flashlight, moving quickly despite her age. How far? Madison asked. Half a mile, comes out in the basement of the old library. From there, it's 2 blocks to the courthouse. Madison's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Tyler's voice was eerily calm. You're not at the shelter anymore. Madison kept walking. How do you know that? I know everything, Madison. I know about the tunnels. I know about your little escape route. I know exactly where you're heading. Then stop me. I'm trying to save you. The warrant is signed. The police are mobilizing. In 30 minutes, you'll be in handcuffs, but it doesn't have to be that way. What do you want? Meet me. Just us. No lawyers, no police, no press. Let's talk like adults. You want to talk after everything you've done. I want to make a deal. The estate, the bonds, the evidence, I don't care about any of it anymore. I care about my child. Madison stopped walking. Your child. Our child, Madison. Our daughter. I know it's a girl. I know she's due in 2 months. And I know that if you go through with this press conference, if you destroy my family, she's going to grow up with a father in prison. Is that what you want?" Madison's hand went to her belly. The baby kicked. "You don't get to use her against me." "I'm not using her. I'm being realistic. You release those documents, my father goes to prison. Maybe me too, but what about her? What about our daughter? She deserves to know her father. Her father abandoned her before she was born. I made a mistake. I was scared, I was stupid. I was 26 years old and panicking. But I've changed. I want to be there for her. I want to be there for both of you." Madison felt tears threatening. Some part of her, the part that still remembered Tyler before everything fell apart, wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that people could change, that families could be saved, that there was a way out of this nightmare that didn't involve destruction. But then she thought about her great-grandmother tied to a chair. She thought about her grandmother spending 80 years alone. She thought about her mother running from shadows her entire life. "No. Madison. No, your family killed my great-grandmother. Your family threatened to murder me when I was a baby. Your family has been destroying everything I love for 80 years. And you want me to just forgive, forget, let you walk away. I'm offering you a future, a family, everything you ever wanted. What I want is justice. What I want is for my daughter to grow up in a world where the Morrisons can't hurt anyone else. What I want is for my grandmother's sacrifice to mean something." Silence on the other end. "Then you've made your choice," Tyler said, his voice turning cold. "And so have I." The line went dead. Madison kept walking. 8:45 a.m. Madison emerged from the library basement into chaos. Police cars were parked outside. Officers were questioning people on the street. Someone was showing her photograph to pedestrians. "They're looking for you," Maria whispered. "We need another way." Madison's phone buzzed. "Benjamin Ward." "Where are you?" "2 blocks from the courthouse. Police everywhere. I see them. They're setting up a perimeter. You'll never get through the front. There has to be another way in. The judge's chambers. There's a private entrance on the east side used for high-profile cases. I can get you in, but you'll have to move fast." "How fast?" "The warrant goes active in 15 minutes. After that, any officer who sees you has to arrest you." Madison looked at Maria. "I have to go alone from here." "Madison, if they catch you helping me, you'll lose the shelter. Those women need you more than I do." Maria grabbed her hand. "Your grandmother would be proud of you." Madison squeezed back. "I hope so." She ran. 9:02 a.m. Madison made it to the east entrance just as Benjamin Ward appeared at the door. "Inside, quickly." They moved through corridors that smelled like old books and floor polish. Benjamin walked fast, not looking back. "The press is already gathering. Word got out about the accusations. Everyone wants to see what you have to say." "Good. More witnesses." "Madison, there's something you should know. Harrison Morrison is here." Madison stopped. "What?" "He's holding his own press conference in 30 minutes. He's planning to preempt you, release a statement denying everything before you can present your evidence." "Then I need to go first. That's why I moved you to 9:15. You've got 13 minutes." Madison's heart was pounding. 13 minutes. In 13 minutes, everything would change. "One more thing," Benjamin said. "Tyler is here too." "I know. He called me." "He's not just calling Madison. He's testifying. He's prepared a statement claiming that you told him about the forgery plan, that you admitted to manipulating Eleanor, that you're mentally unstable and a danger to yourself and others." Madison felt like she'd been punched. "He's going to lie under oath. He's going to do whatever it takes to protect his family. That's what Morrisons do." They reached the courtroom doors. Through the glass, Madison could see reporters, cameras, microphones. The feeding frenzy was already beginning. "Are you ready?" Benjamin asked. Madison touched the flash drive in her pocket. 80 years of evidence. 3 generations of sacrifice. Everything her family had suffered about to be exposed. "I'm ready." Benjamin pushed open the doors. 9:15 a.m. Madison walked into the courtroom and the noise hit her like a wave. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. People pushed forward trying to get closer. Benjamin steered her toward the podium at the front where a microphone waited. Madison gripped the edges of the podium and looked out at the crowd. She recognized some faces from TV news. Others were strangers. All of them were watching her with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. She took a breath. My name is Madison Collins. I am the granddaughter of Eleanor Collins, who passed away 2 weeks ago. I am here today to tell you the truth about my family, the Morrison family, and crimes that have been hidden for 80 years. The noise dropped to whispers. People leaned forward. You've probably seen the headlines this morning. Tyler Morrison is accusing me of fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. He's claiming I manipulated a dying woman to steal her estate. Those accusations are lies, every single one of them. Madison pulled out the flash drive. This drive contains evidence that the Morrison family fortune was built on fraud. During Prohibition, William Morrison created fake vineyards and issued fake bonds, stealing millions from innocent investors. When Prohibition ended and people demanded their money, he couldn't pay, so he started killing anyone who asked questions. Gasps from the audience. Cameras clicked faster. In 1943, my great-grandmother Charlotte Whitmore discovered the fraud. She had evidence documents, ledgers, correspondence. She was planning to go to the authorities, so the Morrison family sent men to her home. They tied her to a chair, and they burned the house down with her inside. That's a lie. Madison looked up. Tyler Morrison was pushing through the crowd, his face twisted with rage. Every word out of her mouth is a lie. She's a criminal, a con artist. She manipulated my family. Your family murdered mine. Madison's voice was steady, calm, and I have proof. She plugged the flash drive into the courtroom's display system. The screen behind her flickered to life. This is William Morrison's signature on fraudulent bond certificates. This is a ledger showing payments to local officials to cover up investor complaints. This is a letter between Morrison and the Sonoma County Sheriff discussing how to handle quote-unquote troublesome investors. The documents appeared on screen one after another. The courtroom fell silent. And this, Madison's voice cracked. This is a crime scene photograph from November 14, 1943. My great-grandmother Charlotte Whitmore tied to a chair in her own home before the fire was set. The photograph appeared. Gasps turned to cries of shock. Several reporters looked away. This photo was taken by a firefighter who arrived on scene early. He was paid by the Morrison family to destroy it. He didn't. He gave it to my grandmother instead, and she's been keeping it safe for 80 years. This is fabricated, Tyler shouted. This is cod. And this is a video testimony from my grandmother recorded 6 months before her death. Madison pressed play. Eleanor's face appeared on screen, 93 years old, frail but fierce. My name is Eleanor Catherine Collins. I am the last living witness to the murder of Charlotte Whitmore by agents of the Morrison family. The courtroom watched in stunned silence as Eleanor told her story. The fire, the screams, watching her mother die, spending 80 years protecting the evidence, waiting for the right moment to release it. When the video ended, no one moved. Madison looked at Tyler. His face had gone white. Your family killed mine, she said quietly. Your family threatened to murder me when I was a baby. Your family has been covering up these crimes for 80 years, and now everyone knows. 9:47 a.m. The courtroom exploded. Reporters shouted questions. Police officers pushed through the crowd. Harrison Morrison appeared at the back of the room, flanked by lawyers, his face a mask of controlled fury. This is slander, Harrison's voice boomed through the chaos. This woman is mentally disturbed. She's fabricated these documents to extort my family. The documents can be authenticated, Benjamin Ward called out. We have forensic experts standing by. We have chain of custody records going back decades. Every piece of evidence is verifiable. My lawyers will phone. Your lawyers can't make the truth disappear, Mr. Morrison, not this time. Harrison pushed forward until he was face to face with Madison. His eyes were cold, calculating, terrifying. You have no idea what you've done, he said quietly so only she could hear. My family has survived worse than you. Your family has never faced me. A commotion at the door drew everyone's attention. 2 men in FBI jackets entered the courtroom, followed by half a dozen agents. Harrison Morrison. The lead agent's voice cut through the noise. We need you to come with us. We have questions about financial irregularities in your campaign funds and allegations of obstruction of justice. Harrison's composure finally cracked. This is harassment. This is politically motivated. Sir, you can come willingly, or we can do this the hard way. The courtroom watched in shock as Harrison Morrison was escorted out. Cameras followed every step. Reporters shouted questions that went unanswered. Tyler stood frozen, watching his father disappear through the doors. Madison walked up to him. It's over, Tyler. Your father's political career, your family's reputation, all of it, done. Tyler turned to her slowly. His eyes were wet, but his expression was hard. You think this is over? You think taking down my father ends anything? There are other Morrisons, other resources, other ways to make you pay. Are you threatening me in front of all these witnesses? Tyler leaned close. I'm promising you, this isn't finished. You destroyed my family. I'm going to destroy you. No, Madison's voice was firm. You're going to watch your empire burn, and then you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that a pregnant woman with nothing brought down everything your family built. She walked away. 10:15 a.m. The next hour was a blur. More federal agents arrived. Lawyers swarmed. Reporters tried to get exclusive interviews. The documents from Eleanor's flash drive were being entered into evidence, copied, shared, analyzed. Madison sat in a quiet corner, her hand on her belly, trying to process what had just happened. Benjamin Ward found her. You did it. You actually did it. Is it really over, Shiko? For Harrison Morrison? Yes. The evidence is too overwhelming. They're talking about charges for fraud, obstruction, conspiracy, maybe even accessory to murder if they can prove a connection to 1943. And Tyler. Benjamin hesitated. Tyler's a different matter. He wasn't born when the original crimes happened. He can claim ignorance of the family history. He threatened me just now, in the courtroom. Did anyone else hear it? Madison thought back. Tyler had been quiet, close. No? Then it's your word against his. And right now, the Morrison lawyers are going to paint you as the villain in this story. After everything I just revealed. After the evidence. You exposed crimes from 80 years ago. That's history. Tyler's accusations against you are happening now. The fraud charges, the forgery claims, those are still active. Madison felt cold. So I won the war, but I might still lose the battle. Not if we're careful. The evidence you presented today will be investigated. When it's authenticated, your credibility goes up. Tyler's accusations fall apart, but that takes time. Days, maybe weeks. I don't have weeks. I'm 7 months pregnant. I have no money, no home, no... Actually, about that. Benjamin pulled out a document. The judge unfroze Eleanor's trust account an hour ago. The emergency injunction was lifted. You have full access to the $300,000 your grandmother left you. Madison stared at the paper. Just like that. Just like that. The Morrison legal team was counting on the fraud accusations to keep the freeze in place. Once you presented the evidence, the judge ruled that the accusations were likely retaliatory. Your access is restored. For the first time all day, Madison felt something other than fear. She felt hope. What about the mansion, the Vineyard? Yours, legally, officially, permanently. The Morrisons have no claim. They never did. They just had enough money and influence to make everyone think they did. Madison looked at the document in her hands. $300,000. A mansion. A vineyard. A future. Everything her grandmother had worked for. Everything her great-grandmother had died for. Everything Madison had fought to protect. It was finally hers. 11:30 a.m. Madison was preparing to leave the courthouse when Dr. Chen found her. I've been looking everywhere for you. Are you okay? I'm fine, exhausted, overwhelmed, but fine. You need to rest. Your blood pressure was already high before all this. I know, I will, but first I need to... Pain shot through Madison's abdomen. Sharp, sudden, wrong. She doubled over. Madison! Dr. Chen caught her before she fell. What is it? What's happening? The baby, something's wrong. Another wave of pain. Madison felt something wet between her legs. Oh no, 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 no. She's bleeding. Dr. Chen's voice was urgent. Someone call an ambulance now. The world became a blur of faces and voices. Madison was lowered to the ground. Hands pressed against her belly. Someone was shouting for help. Through the chaos, she heard her grandmother's voice from the video playing on a screen somewhere in the courthouse. I love you, granddaughter. I always have. Make them pay. Then everything went dark. 3:47 p.m. Madison woke in a hospital bed. The first thing she noticed was the silence. No reporters, no lawyers, no Morrison threats. The second thing she noticed was the absence. Her belly felt different, lighter. She grabbed the bed rails, trying to sit up. My baby, where's my baby? Easy, easy. Dr. Chen appeared at her side. She's okay. She's in the NICU, but she's okay. NICU, but I'm only 7 months. You went into early labor. The stress, the running, everything you've been through, your body couldn't take it anymore. We had to do an emergency C-section. Madison felt tears streaming down her face. I want to see her. I need to see her. You will, soon, but you need to rest first. You lost a lot of blood. You almost... Dr. Chen's voice caught. You almost didn't make it. But my daughter. 4 pounds, 2 ounces. Small but strong. She's breathing on her own. Her heart is strong. Dr. Chen smiled through her own tears. She's a fighter, like her mother, like her grandmother. Madison lay back, overwhelmed. Her daughter was alive. After everything, the threats, the escape, the press conference, her daughter was alive. There's someone who wants to see you, Darchen said carefully. Several people, actually. Benjamin Ward is here. Dorothy Whitman, Maria Santos. They've been waiting for hours. Let them in. Dr. Chen hesitated. There's also someone else. Tyler Morrison. Madison's blood went cold. What? He's been here since you arrived. He's demanding to see you, demanding to see the baby. He's claiming parental rights. He can't after everything he's done. The hospital has him in a waiting room. Security is watching him. But legally, Madison, he is the father. He has certain rights until a court says otherwise. Madison's hands curled into fists. I don't want him near her. I don't want him in the same building as her. Then we need to act fast. Benjamin has paperwork, emergency custody motions, restraining order requests, but Tyler has lawyers too. Good ones. Madison closed her eye. Even now, even after everything, Tyler Morrison was still trying to control her. Still trying to take what was hers. But she wasn't the same person she'd been 2 weeks ago. She'd stared down his father. She'd exposed 80 years of crimes. She'd brought one of the most powerful families in California to their knees. She could handle Tyler. Let Benjamin in first, then the others. Tell Tyler Morrison he can wait until hell freezes over. 4:15 p.m. Benjamin Ward entered with a thick folder of documents and a worried expression. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck, but alive. My daughter is alive. That's what matters. She's beautiful, by the way. I stopped by the NICU. She has your eyes. Madison felt warmth spread through her chest. You saw her. Through the window. She's hooked up to some machines, but the nurses say she's doing remarkably well. They're calling her the miracle baby, 2 months early and already fighting. She comes from a long line of fighters. Benjamin sat down and opened his folder. Speaking of fighting, we need to discuss Tyler. He's claiming he has the right to see his daughter. He's threatening to sue for joint custody if we don't comply. Can he do that after everything that happened today? His crimes are his father's crimes. Legally, Tyler hasn't been charged with anything. He's the biological father of your daughter. Until we can prove he's a danger, he has rights. Madison's jaw tightened. He threatened me in the courtroom. He said he would destroy me. I know, and we're going to use that. I've filed for an emergency restraining order based on his history of harassment, the threats, the intimidation. But Madison, the judge, will want to hear both sides. Tyler will have a chance to present his version of events. His version is lies. I know that. You know that. But the court doesn't know that yet. We have to prove it. Madison looked out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Somewhere in this hospital, her daughter was taking her first breaths, fighting her first battles. Then we prove it. Whatever it takes. I'm not letting Tyler Morrison anywhere near my child. There's one more thing. Benjamin's voice dropped. The FBI wants to talk to you about your testimony today, about the evidence you presented. They're opening a full investigation into the Morrison family. Good. Madison, they want you to testify, formally, in front of a grand jury, against Harrison Morrison, against Tyler, against the entire family organization. And if I do that, you'll be a federal witness, you'll have protection. The Morrisons won't be able to touch you legally, but you'll also be a target. For the rest of your life, you'll be the woman who brought down the Morrisons. Some people will see you as a hero, others friends of the family. People who benefited from their corruption will see you as a threat. Madison thought about her grandmother spending 50 years alone protecting her secret. She thought about her mother running from shadows, never finding peace. She thought about her daughter just hours old, already facing a world full of enemies. I'll do it. Are you sure once you commit to this path? I've been committed since the moment I opened that vault. Since the moment I saw what the Morrisons did to my family. This isn't just about justice anymore, Benjamin. This is about making sure my daughter grows up in a world where people like the Morrisons can't hurt anyone else. Benjamin nodded slowly. Then I'll make the arrangements. The FBI will be in touch within the next few days. In the meantime, rest, heal, spend time with your daughter. What about Tyler? Leave Tyler to me. I've been waiting 40 years to take down a Morrison in court. This is going to be my masterpiece. 6:30 p.m. The nurse wheeled Madison to the NICU. Through the glass, she could see her daughter for the first time. Tiny, fragile, surrounded by monitors and tubes, but alive. Alive. Her vitals are strong, the nurse said. She's a fighter. Can I hold her? Not yet. She needs to stay in the incubator for at least another week, but you can touch her, talk to her. She knows your voice. Madison was wheeled into the NICU gowned and gloved, her heart pounding with a fear and love she'd never felt before. She reached through the incubator opening and touched her daughter's tiny hand. The baby's fingers curled around her thumb. Hi, sweetheart, Madison whispered. I'm your mom. I'm sorry I put you through so much. I'm sorry you had to come into the world this way. But I promise you everything I did for you. For us. For our future. The baby's eyes were closed, but her grip tightened. Your great-great-grandmother was a fighter. She died protecting our family's secrets. Your great-grandmother spent her whole life guarding the truth. Your grandmother, my mom, ran from danger her entire life trying to keep me safe. Madison's voice broke. And now it's my turn. My turn to fight? My turn to protect you. She leaned closer to the incubator. I'm going to make sure no one ever hurts you. No Morrison. No anyone. You're going to grow up safe and loved and free. I promise. A hand touched her shoulder. Madison looked up to find Dorothy Whitman standing behind her. Eleanor would be so proud, Dorothy said softly. You think so? I know so. She used to talk about you all the time, worried about you, prayed for you. She always believed you'd be the one to finish what she started. Madison looked at her daughter. I almost didn't. I almost gave up so many times. But you didn't. That's what matters. You kept going. You fought. And now you've won. Have I Tyler's still out there? The Morrison lawyers are still fighting. Nothing feels finished. Dorothy smiled gently. Nothing ever feels finished in the moment. But look at what you've accomplished. In 2 weeks, you went from homeless and pregnant to exposing one of California's most powerful families. You're holding your daughter in your arms. You have a home, a fortune, a future. That's not nothing. Madison looked at the tiny fingers wrapped around her thumb. I have everything that matters. Then the rest will come. The legal battles, the testimony, the long fight ahead, you'll handle all of it, because you're Eleanor's granddaughter, and Eleanor's granddaughter doesn't give up. 8:45 p.m. Madison was back in her hospital room when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Madison? Tyler's voice was quiet, different. I need to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. Please, just listen. 2 minutes. Madison should have hung up. Every instinct screamed at her to end the call, but she stayed on the line. I saw her, Tyler said. Through the window of the NICU, our daughter. Madison's grip tightened on the phone. You had no right. I know I have no right to anything. After what my family did, after what I did, I know. His voice cracked. But she's beautiful, Madison. She's so small and so perfect, and she's mine. Part of me. She's not yours. She's mine. You gave up any claim to her the day you walked out. I made a mistake. The worst mistake of my life. I was scared. I was stupid. I was listening to my father instead of my heart. But seeing her, seeing what we created, Madison, I don't want to fight you anymore. Then don't. I'm going to drop my custody claims. I'm going to tell my lawyers to stand down. I'm going to testify against my father, tell the FBI everything I know about his business dealings, his crimes, everything. Madison was stunned into silence. In exchange, I want one thing. What? Let me be part of her life. Not as a father, I haven't earned that. But someday when she's older, when she asks about me, tell her the truth. Tell her I was a coward who became brave too late. Tell her I loved her before I even met her. Tell her I'm sorry. Madison listened to the silence on the line. Part of her wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that Tyler Morrison could change, could become the man he should have been from the beginning. But she'd believed too many lies. Actions, Tyler, not words. You want to be part of her life, prove it. Testify against your father. Drop the custody claims. Walk away from everything your family built. Then maybe in 5 years, or 10 years, or 20 years, maybe I'll consider letting you meet her. That's fair. More than fair. And Tyler, if you ever threaten me again, if you ever come near me or my daughter without permission, if you ever do anything that makes me think you're still the man who abandoned us, I will bury you. I have evidence your family has been hiding for 80 years. I can destroy what's left of the Morrison name with a single phone call. Don't test me. Long silence. I understand. Good. Now leave me alone. I have a daughter to raise." She hung up. 10:00 p.m. Madison lay in her hospital bed staring at the ceiling. In the NICU, her daughter was sleeping. Strong vitals. Good signs. A fighter. In a federal holding facility, Harrison Morrison was facing charges that could put him in prison for the rest of his life. In a courthouse somewhere, lawyers were preparing motions that would determine the fate of the Morrison empire. And in this quiet hospital room, Madison finally let herself breathe. It wasn't over. She knew that. The legal battles would continue for months, maybe years. The testimony, the trials, the endless complications of untangling 80 years of crimes. But the worst was behind her. She'd survived Tyler's abandonment. She'd survived homelessness. She'd survived the break in the escape, the press conference. She'd survived giving birth 2 months early in the middle of a media firestorm, and her daughter had survived with her. Madison touched her belly, still sore from the surgery, and thought about everything that had brought her to this moment. Her grandmother's sacrifices, her great-grandmother's courage, her mother's love even from a distance. All of it leading to this, a new life, a new beginning, a future free from Morrison threats. Her phone buzzed. A text from Benjamin Ward. Benjamin, FBI confirms they're moving forward with charges against Harrison Morrison. Multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, obstruction. They're calling it one of the biggest corruption cases in California history. "You did it, Madison. You really did it." Madison smiled and typed back. "Madison, we did it. All of us. Eleanor, Charlotte, my mom, you, Dorothy, Maria, Dr. Chen. It took a village." Benjamin, "Speaking of which, the Vineyard, the mansion, the bonds. We should talk about what you want to do with it all." Madison thought about the crumbling mansion she'd seen 2 weeks ago, the overgrown vineyard, the vault full of evidence that had destroyed an empire. "Madison, I want to restore it. All of it. The house, the vineyard, everything. I want to turn it into something beautiful, something my daughter can be proud of." Benjamin, "That's going to take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of money." Madison, "I have all 3 now, thanks to Eleanor." Benjamin, "Then I think that's exactly what Eleanor would have wanted. Rest now. We'll talk tomorrow." Madison put down her phone and closed her eyes. Tomorrow there would be more challenges, more decisions, more fights. But tonight she was going to rest. She was going to let herself feel the victory. She was going to think about her daughter sleeping safely in the NICU, beginning a life that would be nothing like her mother's desperate struggle. Madison's last thought before sleep took her was of Eleanor, of the grandmother she'd never really known, the woman who had spent her entire life waiting for this moment, who had protected secrets, gathered evidence, endured loneliness, all so that one day her granddaughter would have the weapons she needed to fight back. "Thank you," Madison whispered into the darkness. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for everything." Somewhere she could almost hear Eleanor's voice responding, "I always knew you'd be the one. I always knew." Madison slept. And for the first time in months, she dreamed of something other than fear. She dreamed of hope. 2 weeks after her daughter was born, Madison carried her out of the hospital for the first time. Charlotte Eleanor Collins, named after the 2 women who had sacrificed everything to protect her future. 4 pounds 12 ounces, now small but strong, wrapped in a blanket Dorothy Whitman had knitted. "She's gaining weight beautifully," Dr. Chen said as she walked them to the car. "Another month and you won't be able to tell she was premature." Madison held her daughter close, still amazed that something so perfect had come from so much chaos. "Thank you for everything." "Don't thank me yet. The real work is just beginning." Dr. Chen's expression turned serious. "Motherhood is the hardest job you'll ever have, especially as a single mother, especially with everything you're dealing with." "I know." "Do you, because the legal battles, the testimony, the media attention, none of that goes away just because you have a baby now. If anything, it gets harder." Madison looked at Charlotte's sleeping face. "I'm ready." "I hope so." Dr. Chen hugged her carefully. "Call me if you need anything, day or night. I mean it." Madison climbed into the passenger seat of Dorothy's pickup truck Charlotte secured in a car seat that Maria Santos had donated from the shelter. Benjamin Ward was driving his legal briefcase wedged between the seats. "Where to?" he asked. Madison didn't hesitate. "Home, the Vineyard. I want my daughter to see where she comes from." 9:30 a.m. The drive to Whitmore Vineyard took 45 minutes. Madison spent most of it staring out the window watching the wine country roll past, thinking about everything that had changed since she'd first driven this route 3 weeks ago. She'd arrived desperate pregnant alone. She was leaving the hospital as a mother, a millionaire, and the woman who had brought down one of California's most powerful families. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. Congratulations on the baby. She's beautiful. Enjoy this moment while you can. Madison's blood went cold. She showed the message to Benjamin. Tyler. I don't think so. He's been cooperative since our last conversation. This feels different. Different how? More threatening. More professional. Benjamin's jaw tightened. The Morrison family has resources beyond Tyler and Harrison, business associates, old allies, people who benefited from their corruption and don't want it exposed. So even with Harrison in custody and Tyler backing down, I'm still in danger. You exposed 80 years of crimes, Madison. You cost people billions of dollars. Some of them aren't going to forgive that. Madison looked at Charlotte sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the dangers surrounding her. What do I do? For now, nothing. The FBI is investigating the Morrison network. They'll identify anyone who might be a threat. In the meantime, we increase security at the Vineyard. Cameras, alarms, guards if necessary. I can't live like a prisoner in my own home. You won't. This is temporary. Once the trials are over, once the dust settles, things will calm down. Madison wanted to believe him, but she'd learned too much about the Morrison family to trust that anything would ever be truly calm. 10:15 a.m. They arrived at Whitmore Vineyard to find chaos. Construction trucks lined the driveway. Workers swarmed the property. The sound of hammers and saws filled the air. Madison stepped out of the truck, Charlotte in her arms, staring at the transformation. What is all this, huh? Benjamin smiled. Your grandmother's final gift. She left detailed instructions for the restoration along with the funds to pay for it. I took the liberty of starting the work while you were in the hospital. But the trust account only had $300,000. That was the living expenses account. There's a separate restoration fund. Eleanor set it up 30 years ago and has been contributing to it ever since. He pulled out a document. Current balance $4.2 million. Madison nearly dropped her daughter. $4 million? Eleanor was very patient and very determined. She always knew this day would come. Madison walked toward the mansion, watching workers replace broken windows, repair the porch, strip away decades of decay. The house that had terrified her 3 weeks ago was already beginning to transform. It's really happening, she whispered. It's really happening. By the time Charlotte is old enough to walk, this place will be beautiful again. Madison felt tears threatening. Her grandmother had planned everything, every detail, every contingency. Even from beyond the grave, Eleanor was still protecting her family. Miss Collins. Madison turned. A man in his 40s approached wearing work clothes and carrying a clipboard. His face was weathered, his hands calloused, but his eyes were kind. I'm Thomas Rivera. I'm the contractor in charge of the restoration. I wanted to introduce myself and ask if you have any specific requests. Requests? Your grandmother left detailed plans, but they're 30 years old. Things have changed. Materials, techniques, code requirements. I wanted to make sure we're building something you actually want to live in. Madison looked at the mansion, then at Charlotte, then at Thomas Rivera. I want it to feel like a home, not a museum, not a monument, a place where my daughter can grow up happy. Thomas nodded. I think we can manage that. 11:30 a.m. Madison spent the next hour touring the property with Thomas while Benjamin handled phone calls in his car. The vineyard was still a mess, overgrown rows, broken equipment, dead vines, but Thomas explained that a separate agricultural team would handle that work. The house was the priority for now. The structure is solid, Thomas said. Your family built well. Most of the damage is cosmetic water infiltration, rot, neglect. Give us 6 months and you won't recognize this place. 6 months. Charlotte will be crawling by then. She'll be crawling through a mansion that's been in her family for 130 years. That's something. Madison's phone rang. Benjamin Ward. You need to come back to the car. There's a development. She found Benjamin sitting in the driver's seat, his face pale. What's wrong? The FBI just called. They found something in Harrison Morrison's files. Something about you. About me. About your mother. Madison, the Morrisons didn't just threaten Eleanor. They were actively monitoring your family for decades, following your mother's movements, tracking her addresses, her jobs, her relationships. They knew everything about her life. Madison felt sick. They were watching my mother the whole time. And you, there are files going back to your childhood, school records, medical records, photographs. They've been tracking you since you were born. Madison's hands shook. She looked at Charlotte sleeping in her car seat. They've been stalking my family for 30 years. It gets worse. The files mention payments, bribes to people in your life. Your mother's landlords, her employers even the hospital where you were born. What does that mean? What were they paying for? Benjamin hesitated. The FBI doesn't know yet, but they're concerned. Some of the payments are huge, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whatever the Morrisons were doing, it wasn't just surveillance. Madison's mind raced. Payments to hospitals, bribes to employers. What had the Morrisons been doing to her family all these years? I need to see those files. Madison, I need to see them, Benjamin. This is my mother, my life. I have a right to know what they did. 12:45 p.m. Benjamin drove her to the FBI field office in Santa Rosa. The building was nondescript, the kind of government facility that looked like every other government facility. But inside, Madison felt the weight of what was happening. The biggest corruption case in California history, and she was at the center of it. Agent Sarah Mitchell met them in the lobby. She was younger than Madison expected, mid-30s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. Miss Collins, thank you for coming in. You have files about my family. I want to see them. That's why I called you, but I have to warn you what you're about to see is disturbing. Are you sure you're ready? Madison thought about her mother, about the life she'd lived, always moving, always struggling, never finding peace. She'd thought it was bad luck, random misfortune. Now she was learning it was something else entirely. Show me. Agent Mitchell led her to a conference room filled with boxes of documents. Photographs covered one wall. Charts and diagrams covered another. The Morrison family kept meticulous records, Mitchell explained. Ironically, that's going to be their downfall. They documented everything, every payment, every contact, every action taken against potential threats. And my family was a threat. Your grandmother was the biggest threat they faced. She had evidence that could destroy them. They spent 80 years trying to neutralize that threat without triggering the release of that evidence. Madison approached the wall of photographs. She recognized faces, her mother at various ages, herself as a child, school photos, driver's license pictures, candid shots taken from a distance. They photographed us for decades. They did more than photograph you. Mitchell picked up a folder. This is a record of payments made to a Dr. Harold Simmons. He was the obstetrician who delivered you. Madison's heart stopped. What kind of payments, Panado? Mitchell handed her the folder. Dr. Simmons received $50,000 in 1998, the month you were born. The payment note says Special Handling Collins Delivery. Special handling, what does that mean? We don't know yet. Dr. Simmons died in 2015, but we're investigating. There may be hospital records staff who remember something. Madison felt the room spinning. Special handling, her birth, payments to the doctor who delivered her. They did something to me. When I was born, they did something. We don't know that. Why else would they pay him $50,000? Why else would they care about my delivery? Madison's voice rose. What did they do to me? Benjamin stepped forward. Madison, you need to calm down. Charlotte needs you calm. Madison looked at her daughter still sleeping in the carrier. She forced herself to breathe, to focus. I want answers, she said quietly. I want to know everything the Morrisons did to my family. Every payment, every action, every secret. I won't stop until I know the truth. Agent Mitchell nodded. Then let's get started. 2:30 p.m. 3 hours later, Madison emerged from the FBI office with a headache and a heart full of rage. The files had revealed a campaign of systematic harassment spanning 3 decades. The Morrisons hadn't just watched her family, they had actively sabotaged them. Her mother had lost 3 jobs because of anonymous complaints to employers. Her apartment applications had been rejected because of false credit reports. Her medical insurance had been canceled because of fraudulent claims. Every struggle her mother had faced, every setback, every failure, the Morrisons had been behind it all. They destroyed her, Madison said as Benjamin drove her back to the Vineyard. My mother spent her whole life fighting to survive, and they were tearing her down every step of the way. They were trying to pressure Eleanor. If they could make your mother desperate enough, vulnerable enough, maybe she'd convince Eleanor to give up the evidence. It didn't work. No, your grandmother never broke, but your mother... Benjamin's voice trailed off. Madison understood. Her mother had died at 52, exhausted and broken by a life that had never given her a fair chance. Not because of bad luck, because of the Morrison family. I'm going to destroy them, Madison said quietly. Not just Harrison, not just Tyler, the entire network, everyone who helped them, everyone who profited from their crimes, everyone who knew what they were doing and looked the other way. I'm going to take them all down. That's a dangerous ambition. It's justice. For my mother, for Eleanor, for Charlotte Whitmore, for every person the Morrisons hurt over the past century. Madison looked at her daughter. And for her. So she never has to live in fear of these people? Benjamin was quiet for a long moment. Eleanor would be proud of you. Eleanor spent 80 years being patient. I don't have 80 years. I have a daughter who needs to grow up in a safe world, so we're going to do this my way. What's your way? Madison's eyes hardened. Fast, aggressive, total destruction. 4:15 p.m. Back at the Vineyard, Madison found an unexpected visitor waiting. A woman stood on the restored front porch, mid-60s, elegant in an understated way. She turned when she heard the car approaching, and Madison saw something in her face, pain-guilt recognition. Who is that? Madison asked. Benjamin's expression shifted. That's Victoria Morrison, Harrison's sister. Madison's hand went instinctively to Charlotte's carrier. What is she doing here? I don't know, but be careful. Victoria has always been the quiet Morrison, the one who stayed out of the spotlight. That doesn't mean she's innocent. Madison approached the porch slowly. Benjamin at her side. Victoria watched them come, making no move to leave. Miss Collins, Victoria said. Her voice was softer than Madison expected. Weaker. Thank you for seeing me. I didn't agree to see you. You're trespassing on my property. I know, I'm sorry, but I couldn't think of any other way to reach you. After everything that's happened, I had to come. Why? Victoria's eyes moved to Charlotte and something flickered across her face. Longing, maybe, or regret. Because I knew your grandmother better than anyone in my family realized, and I have something you need to hear. Madison didn't move. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of my lawyer. I'd prefer that, actually. I want witnesses. Victoria took a deep breath. I want to confess. 5:00 p.m. They gathered in the partially restored parlor, Madison with Charlotte Benjamin, with his recorder, Victoria sitting alone on a dusty chair. Before I start, Victoria said, I want you to understand something. I've spent 40 years hating my family, hating what they did, what they became, what they made me complicit in. But I was too afraid to do anything about it. Why are you here now? Because Harrison is finished. Tyler has turned. The empire is crumbling. Victoria's voice broke. And because I saw that photograph. The one you showed at the press conference. Charlotte Whitmore tied to a chair. Madison tensed. What about it? I was there. The words hung in the air like poison. You were where? At the fire. In 1943. I was 7 years old. My father brought me to Whitmore Vineyard that night. He wanted me to see what happened to people who crossed the Morrison family. Tears streamed down Victoria's face. I watched them drag Charlotte into the house. I heard her screaming. I saw the flames. Madison felt sick. You witnessed the murder. I witnessed everything, and I've been carrying it for 80 years. Victoria reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. This is why I came. This belonged to your grandmother. She opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple gold worn with age engraved with initials. CW to ELK, Victoria read. Charlotte Whitmore to Eleanor Collins. Your great-grandmother gave this to Eleanor on the day she was born. It was supposed to be Eleanor's wedding ring someday, but Eleanor never married. She wore it on a chain around her neck until the day she died. How do you have this? Eleanor gave it to me 20 years ago. She said she wanted someone in the Morrison family to remember the truth, to carry the guilt. She said when the time came, I should give it to her granddaughter. Victoria held out the ring. Her hand trembled. I'm sorry, she whispered. For everything. I should have spoken up decades ago. I should have been brave like Eleanor. But I wasn't. I was a coward, and my cowardice let my family keep hurting people. Madison took the ring. It was warm from Victoria's hand, smooth from years of wear. She could feel the weight of history in it, generations of love, sacrifice, and loss. Will you testify? Madison asked. In court against your family. Victoria nodded slowly. I'll testify. I'll tell them everything, the fire, the cover-up, everything I saw and everything I know. It's the only way I can make things right. It won't make things right. Nothing can bring back Charlotte Whitmore. Nothing can give Eleanor her life back. I know, but maybe it can help your daughter grow up in a world where the Morrisons can't hurt anyone else. Maybe that's the only redemption I can hope for." Madison looked at the ring in her hand, then at Victoria Morrison, a broken old woman who had spent her life carrying impossible guilt. "Stay for dinner," Madison said finally. "We have a lot to discuss." 7:30 p.m. Victoria told her story over sandwiches and coffee in the partially restored kitchen. She told of growing up in the Morrison household surrounded by wealth and secrets, of learning at a young age never to ask questions, of watching her father and brothers lie, cheat, and destroy anyone who stood in their way. She told of the fire, the images that had haunted her for 80 years. Charlotte Whitmore's screams, the smell of smoke, her father's hand on her shoulder whispering, "This is what happens to enemies." She told of Eleanor how they had met secretly over the years, two women bound by a shared tragedy, how Eleanor had forgiven her even though she had no right to forgiveness, how Eleanor had made her promise to help Madison when the time came. "She knew she was dying," Victoria said. "6 months before she passed, she called me. She said Madison would need allies. She said I should be ready. Why didn't you come forward sooner when I was at the press conference when I needed witnesses?" "I was afraid. Even with Harrison arrested, there are other Morrisons, other dangers. But then I saw the photograph, and I couldn't stay silent anymore." Victoria looked at Charlotte asleep in Madison's arms. "She deserves better than what my family gave yours." Benjamin had been recording everything. "This testimony is going to change the case, Madison. A witness to the original murder, a Morrison willing to turn on her own family. The FBI is going to want to hear this." "Then let them hear it." Madison's voice was firm. "Let the whole world hear it. No more secrets. No more hiding. It's time for the truth." 9:45 p.m. After Victoria left, Madison sat alone in the nursery that workers had hastily prepared, just a crib and a rocking chair, but enough for now. Charlotte was sleeping, her tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Madison watched her daughter and felt something shift inside her. For weeks she had been running, fighting, surviving. She had exposed the Morrisons, given birth, in the middle of a crisis discovered evidence of lifelong persecution. But sitting here in the quiet of her grandmother's house, holding her grandmother's ring, she finally felt something like peace. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Tyler, I heard Victoria came to see you. Good. She's the key to everything. She saw what my family really is. Let her help you finish this." Madison stared at the message, surprised by its tone. Not threatening, not manipulative, almost supportive. She typed back, "Why are you helping me, Tyler? Because I meant what I said. I want to be different. I want Charlotte to know that her father tried to make things right, even if it was too late. Madison, it will take more than text to prove that. Tyler, I know. That's why I'm testifying tomorrow. Full cooperation with the FBI, everything I know about my family's crimes. Madison, that's going to destroy your life. Tyler, my life was already built on destruction. Maybe it's time to start over." Madison didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. Part of her still hated Tyler, still wanted him to suffer for abandoning her, for threatening her, for everything his family had done. But another part, the part that was now a mother, that understood how complicated love and family could be, wondered if people really could change. She put down the phone and looked at her daughter. "I don't know what to do about your father," she whispered. "I don't know if he deserves a second chance. But I promise you this, I will always protect you, no matter what, no matter who." Charlotte stirred in her sleep, one tiny hand reaching up as if grasping for something. Madison took her daughter's hand and held it gently. "We're going to be okay," she said. "We've come this far. We can go the rest of the way." The next morning, 8:00 a.m. Madison woke to pounding on the front door. She grabbed Charlotte and her phone, moving on instinct. 3 weeks of running had taught her to be ready for anything. "Madison," Benjamin's voice. "It's me, open up." She opened the door to find Benjamin white-faced and breathless. "What's wrong?" "Harrison Morrison is dead." Madison's legs buckled. She grabbed the doorframe. "What? Found in his cell this morning? They're saying suicide, but..." Benjamin shook his head. "Madison, the timing is too convenient. He was supposed to testify today. He was going to name names, everyone in his network, everyone who helped him." "You think someone killed him?" "I think someone made sure he couldn't talk. And if they killed Harrison to protect themselves, that means there's a network out there that's still dangerous, still active, still willing to murder to keep their secrets." Madison looked at Charlotte in her arms. "We're not safe. You're not safe here. I'm arranging for you to move to a secure location until we know more. I'm not running again. I've been running my whole life. My mother ran. Eleanor hid. I'm done. Madison, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. If I run, they win. If I hide, they win. The only way to end this is to keep fighting, to expose everyone, to make sure there's nowhere left for them to hide. And if they come for you, Madison looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger surrounding her. Then they'll find out what a Collins woman is capable of. 10:30 a.m. Agent Mitchell arrived an hour later with a team of FBI agents. We're treating this as a homicide investigation, she told Madison. Harrison Morrison didn't kill himself. The angle of the wound, the lack of defensive injuries, everything points to murder. Who would want to kill him? Everyone he was about to expose. Harrison had decades of dirt on powerful people, politicians, businessmen, judges, anyone he'd ever bribed, blackmailed, or partnered with. They all had motive to silence him. So the conspiracy is bigger than just the Morrisons. Much bigger. We're looking at a network that spans California and beyond. Harrison was just the figurehead. The real power structure is still intact and still dangerous. Madison felt cold. She'd thought exposing the Morrisons would end the threat. Instead, it had uncovered something far worse. What do you need from me? Everything Victoria Morrison told you. She's a witness to the original crimes, but she may also know about the larger network. If we can map the connections, I'll give you everything, recordings, notes, anything you need. There's something else. Mitchell hesitated. Tyler Morrison's testimony this morning, he gave us names. 12 people who were directly involved in his father's criminal activities. 3 of them are federal judges. 2 are state senators. 1 is a former FBI director. Madison stared at her. A former FBI director? Harrison Morrison's corruption went deeper than anyone imagined. He didn't just bribe local officials, he compromised people at the highest levels of government. People who are now very motivated to bury this investigation. Can you protect it? The investigation? I'm trying, but I need allies. People I can trust, absolutely. Mitchell looked directly at Madison. I need you. Me, I'm not law enforcement. I'm not a lawyer. You're the woman who brought down Harrison Morrison with evidence your grandmother collected over 80 years. You have credibility, visibility. The media loves you. If you stand with us publicly, it makes it harder for anyone to shut us down. Madison thought about everything she'd been through. The running, the hiding, the constant fear. She'd told Benjamin she was done with that. Time to prove it. What do you need me to do? 1:15 p.m. Madison held a press conference on the steps of the Sonoma County Courthouse. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The whole world was watching. 3 weeks ago, I came forward with evidence of crimes committed by the Morrison family over the past century. Since then, I've learned that those crimes were just the surface of something much larger, a network of corruption that has infiltrated our government at every level. She paused, letting the words sink in. This morning, Harrison Morrison was found dead in his cell. Officials are calling it suicide. I'm calling it murder, committed to protect the powerful people Harrison was about to expose. Gasps from the crowd. Cameras clicked faster. I'm here today to make a promise. I will not be silenced. I will not be intimidated. I will work with the FBI, with honest prosecutors, with anyone who wants to root out this corruption until every person responsible for these crimes is brought to justice. A reporter shouted, Miss Collins, aren't you afraid for your safety? Madison looked directly into the cameras. I'm terrified. I'm a new mother with a 2-week-old daughter. Every instinct tells me to run, to hide, to protect my family. But running is what they want. Hiding is what they expect. If I do that, they win. And I refuse to let them win. Another reporter. What about Tyler Morrison? He's the father of your child. Is he involved in this conspiracy? Madison hesitated. She thought about Tyler's texts, his promise to testify, his claim that he wanted to change. Tyler Morrison has made choices I can't forgive, but today he made a different choice. He testified against his own family, provided evidence that will help bring down this network. Whether that's enough to redeem him, that's not for me to decide. That's for the courts, and for our daughter someday. The press conference lasted another 30 minutes. Madison answered every question, held nothing back. By the time she finished, she was exhausted, but also exhilarated. For the first time, she wasn't running. She wasn't hiding. She was fighting. And it felt right. 4 Huzuru p.m. Madison returned to the Vineyard to find an unexpected visitor in the driveway. Tyler Morrison stood beside a rental car looking nervous and uncertain. He raised his hands as Madison approached. I come in peace. I just want to talk. Madison stopped 10 feet away, Charlotte in her arms. "You shouldn't be here." "I know, the restraining order, but I had to see you, to see her." His eyes went to Charlotte. "She's so beautiful, Madison. She looks just like you. She has your eyes." "Does she?" Tyler's voice cracked. "I wouldn't know. I've never held her." Madison felt something twist in her chest. Anger, yes, but also something else. Something complicated. "Why are you really here, Tyler?" "Because I testified today. I gave the FBI everything: names, dates, bank accounts, secret meetings, everything I know about my family's crimes." He took a shaky breath. "My father is dead because of what I was about to reveal. Someone in his network killed him to shut him up. And now they're going to come for me." "Then go to the FBI. Get protection." "I am. I'm entering witness protection tomorrow. New identity, new location, new life." Tyler's voice dropped. "I may never see you again. I may never see Charlotte again. I had to come here first, to apologize. To tell you." "Tell me what?" "That I'm sorry. For everything. For abandoning you. For threatening you. For every terrible thing I did and said." Tears streamed down his face. "I was a coward, Madison. I was weak and scared, and I let my family control me. But seeing Charlotte, seeing what you've become, I want to be better, even if it's too late." Madison stood in silence for a long moment. She thought about all the pain Tyler had caused, the abandonment, the threats, the harassment. Part of her wanted to tell him to leave, to never come back, to disappear into witness protection and stay gone forever. But another part remembered why she'd fallen in love with him once. The charm, the warmth, the potential she'd seen buried beneath the Morrison conditioning. And she thought about Charlotte, about what she would tell her daughter someday when Charlotte asked about her father. "5 minutes, Madison said finally. "You can hold her for 5 minutes, then you leave. And Tyler, if you ever betray us, if you ever do anything to put Charlotte in danger, I won't, I swear." Madison handed her daughter to her father. Tyler held Charlotte like she was made of glass, tears streaming down his face. He whispered something Madison couldn't hear, a promise maybe, or a prayer. For 5 minutes they stood together in the driveway of Whitmore Vineyard, a broken family having a moment of grace. Then Tyler handed Charlotte back and walked to his car. "Thank you," he said, "for giving me this. I don't deserve it." "No, you don't." Madison held her daughter close, but she deserves to know that her father loved her, even if he couldn't stay. Tyler nodded, got in his car, and drove away. Madison watched until he disappeared around the bend. "Goodbye, Tyler," she whispered. Then she turned and walked into her grandmother's house, ready to face whatever came next. 7:30 p.m. That night, Madison sat in the restored parlor with Benjamin Ward, Dorothy Whitman, Maria Santos, and Dr. Chen. "A council of war," Dorothy called it. "A council of protection," Benjamin corrected. "Madison, you've made a lot of enemies today. Powerful enemies. We need to plan for what comes next." "What comes next is the trial," Madison said. "Harrison's network is going to try to shut it down. We can't let them." "The FBI is handling security for witnesses. Victoria Morrison is already in protective custody. Tyler is entering witness protection tomorrow." Benjamin pulled out a folder. "But you're the wild card. You're public, visible. You can't hide." "I don't want to hide." "Then we need to make you untouchable. Media presence, public appearances, constant visibility. If something happens to you, it becomes a national story. That's your protection." Maria Santos spoke up. "The shelter can help with safe houses if needed. We have a network across California." "And I can manage your medical care," Dr. Chen added. "Charlotte needs regular checkups. We can use those appointments to move you securely if necessary." Madison looked at the faces around her, people she'd known for only weeks but who had become her family, her real family. "Thank you," she said, "all of you. I couldn't have survived this without you." "You could have," Dorothy said firmly. "You're Eleanor's granddaughter. Survival is in your blood." Madison touched the ring on her finger, Charlotte Whitmore's ring passed down through generations of Collins women. "Then let's survive this together. Let's take down everyone who's ever hurt our families, and let's build something better in the ashes." The Council of Protection raised their coffee cups in a toast. Outside the restored mansion stood tall against the darkening sky. Inside, a new generation was ready to fight. 6 months had passed since Madison Collins stood on the courthouse steps and declared war on the Morrison network. 6 months of testimony, investigation, and relentless exposure. 6 months of watching the corrupt empire crumble one powerful person at a time. Madison stood in the restored parlor of Whitmore Vineyard, holding her daughter Charlotte, watching the news coverage on television. The banner at the bottom of the screen read, "Morrison Network Trial, Final Verdicts Expected Today." Nervous, Benjamin Ward asked from the doorway. Terrified. Madison shifted Charlotte to her other hip. What if they walk? What if all of this was for nothing? 12 guilty verdicts already. 3 federal judges, 2 state senators, a former FBI director. The evidence is overwhelming. They're not walking. Harrison walked for 80 years. Harrison had Eleanor protecting the evidence. She was waiting for the right moment. That is that moment. Madison's phone buzzed. Agent Mitchell? Turn on Channel 7. The verdicts are coming in. Madison switched channels. The courtroom camera showed the defendant's table 7 more members of the Morrison network, including Richard Ashworth, the man who had offered her $2 million to walk away from her inheritance. The judge began reading. On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, how do you find guilty? On the count of obstruction of justice, guilty. On the count of accessory to murder in the death of Charlotte Whitmore. Madison held her breath. This was the charge that mattered most. The charge that connected everything back to 1943 to the fire to her great-grandmother tied to a chair. Guilty. Madison's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the couch, clutching Charlotte, tears streaming down her face. They did it, she whispered. They actually did it. Benjamin sat beside her, his own eyes wet. Eleanor would be so proud of you. I didn't do this alone. Eleanor collected the evidence. Victoria testified. Tyler gave them names. The FBI did the investigation. You just had the courage to stand up when everyone told you to run. You just held a press conference while people were trying to kill you. You just refused to be silenced when silence was the easy choice. Benjamin squeezed her hand. That's not nothing, Madison. That's everything. Charlotte gurgled and reached for Madison's face. 6 months old now, healthy and strong, completely unaware that her mother had just won a war. Madison kissed her daughter's forehead. We did it, baby girl. We made them pay. 10:30 a.m. The celebration at Whitmore Vineyard was unlike anything the property had seen in a century. Dorothy Whitman came with champagne and homemade pie. Maria Santos brought half the staff from the women's shelter. Dr. Chen arrived with her entire family. Thomas Rivera and his construction crew, the people who had transformed the crumbling mansion into a beautiful home, showed up with flowers and congratulations. Madison moved through the crowd, accepting hugs, sharing tears, feeling for the first time like she truly belonged somewhere. Miss Collins, Madison turned. Agent Mitchell stood at the edge of the gathering, looking uncertain. Agent Mitchell, I didn't expect to see you here. I wasn't sure I should come, but I wanted to tell you something in person. Mitchell stepped closer. The investigation is officially closed. 19 convictions, total. The Morrison network is dismantled. Every person responsible for the crimes against your family is going to prison. Madison felt the weight of that statement settle into her bones. 19 convictions, 80 years of crimes finally punished. What about Tyler? Mitchell's expression softened. Tyler Morrison's testimony was crucial. Without him, we couldn't have connected half the network. He's still in witness protection, but he wanted me to give you this. She handed Madison an envelope. Inside was a single photograph and a handwritten note. The photograph showed Tyler holding Charlotte on the day he'd said goodbye. Madison hadn't known anyone had taken it. The note read, Madison, I know I have no right to ask for anything, but I want you to know that every day I think about Charlotte. Every day I try to become the man she deserves to have as a father. I'm working with therapists, addiction counselors, anyone who can help me understand why I became what I became. Someday, when the danger has passed, I hope I can prove to you that people can change. Until then, please tell Charlotte that her father loves her, that he's trying, that he never stopped trying. Tyler Madison stared at the note for a long moment. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. Tell him I received it, she said to Mitchell. Tell him, Charlotte is happy and healthy and loved. I will. Mitchell turned to leave, then paused. Miss Collins, for what it's worth, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen a lot of brave people, but I've never seen anyone as brave as you. I wasn't brave. I was terrified every single day. That's what bravery is, being terrified and doing it anyway. 4:45 p.m. After the guests left, Madison walked through the restored mansion alone. Every room held memories now. The parlor where she'd held her council of war. The kitchen where she'd fed Charlotte her first solid food. The nursery where she'd spent countless sleepless nights rocking her daughter while the world fell apart around them. And the basement, the vault where everything had started. Madison descended the stairs slowly, feeling the familiar chill of the underground space. The vault door stood open, now there was nothing left to hide. The bonds had been authenticated and sold, netting $315 million that was now held in trust for Charlotte's future. But the vault wasn't empty. Madison had turned it into a museum of sorts. The walls displayed photographs of Charlotte Whitmore Eleanor Collins and her own mother, documents from the investigation, newspaper clippings about the trial, a timeline of the Morrison crimes and their eventual justice. In the center of the room stood a simple wooden table with a single item on it, Eleanor's video camera still containing the testimony she'd recorded 6 months before her death. Madison pressed play. Eleanor's face appeared on the small screen, 93 years old, frail but fierce. "My name is Eleanor Catherine Collins. I am the last living witness to the murder of Charlotte Whitmore." Madison had watched this video dozens of times, but today something was different. Today she noticed details she'd missed before. The way Eleanor's hands trembled, the tears she kept wiping away, the desperate hope in her eyes. "Madison, if you're watching this, it means I'm gone. It means the burden has passed to you." Madison sat down on the cold floor and listened to her grandmother's voice fill the vault. "I'm sorry I couldn't be there to help you. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth while I was alive. But I want you to know that everything I did for you, for your mother, for every woman in our family who suffered because of Morrison greed." Tears streamed down Madison's face. 6 months of fighting, and she still hadn't fully processed her grandmother's sacrifice. 80 years of loneliness, 80 years of fear, all so that Madison could have this moment. The bonds in the vault are worth millions, but they're also evidence. Proof that the Morrison fortune was built on fraud. Use them, Madison. Use everything. Don't let them win. The video ended. Madison sat in silence for a long time, listening to the echo of her grandmother's voice fading into the darkness. Then she stood up, wiped her tears, and climbed back into the light. 2:30 p.m. Madison found Dorothy Whitman sitting on the restored front porch watching the Vineyard workers tend to the newly planted vines. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Dorothy said. "Eleanor always dreamed of seeing this place alive again." Madison sat beside her. "Tell me about her. The real Eleanor, not the legend, not the victim, the woman." Dorothy smiled, her eyes distant with memory. "She was stubborn. Lord, was she stubborn. Once she made up her mind about something, nothing could change it. That's how she survived, you know. Pure stubbornness." "What else?" "She was kind. Kinder than anyone knew. She donated to every charity in the county, always anonymously. Paid for scholarships, medical bills, funerals. She said it was her penance using Morrison blood money to help people the Morrisons had hurt. She felt guilty even though she was a victim. She felt responsible. There's a difference. Eleanor believed that having power meant having responsibility. She had the evidence to destroy the Morrisons for 80 years. Every day she didn't use it, she felt like she was letting them hurt more people. Then why didn't she Dorothy's expression grew serious. "Because of you, because they threatened to kill you if she ever spoke up. Eleanor made a choice, your life over justice. She carried that weight until the day she died." Madison felt the familiar ache of guilt. "She sacrificed everything for me, and I didn't even know she existed." "She knew you existed. That was enough." Dorothy reached over and took Madison's hand. "You have her strength, you know. The same fire, the same refusal to quit. When I first saw you standing on that courthouse steps facing down the whole Morrison network, I thought, that's Eleanor's girl. That's the one she was waiting for." Madison squeezed Dorothy's hand. "I wish I could have known her." "You know her now. Every time you look at this house, every time you hold your daughter, every time you make a choice to fight instead of run, that's Eleanor living through you. That's her legacy." 4:15 p.m. A car came up the driveway that Madison didn't recognize. She tensed instinctively, 6 months of danger conditioning her to expect threats. But when the door opened, the person who stepped out made her freeze for entirely different reasons. Her father. Robert Collins stood beside his rental car, looking older than Madison remembered, more fragile. He held his hat in his hands, twisting it nervously. "Madison, I know I don't have the right to be here, but I saw the news, the verdicts, and I had to come." Madison didn't move from the porch. "Why? You made it pretty clear you wanted nothing to do with me when I called asking for help." I know, and I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was scared and selfish, and I failed you when you needed me most." "You sent me $200 and told me to figure it out. I was pregnant and homeless." "I know," Robert's voice cracked. "I've watched the coverage, all of it. I saw what you did, what you survived, what you accomplished, and I realized I've been a coward my whole life. just like your mother said I was." Madison's anger flickered. "You talked to Mom about this." "Before she died, we had one last conversation. She told me that someday you'd need me and I'd have to choose whether to be a real father or keep running." Robert wiped his eyes. "She was right, and I chose wrong? So why are you here now to ease your conscience?" "I'm here to apologize, and to ask if there's any way at all, I can be part of your life again. Part of Charlotte's life." Madison looked at her father, 63 years old, gray hair, weathered face, hands that trembled with age or emotion or both. He'd abandoned her mother, abandoned her, started a new family that didn't include her. And yet, he was the only parent she had left. "I'm not going to make this easy for you," Madison said finally. "I don't expect you to. And I'm not going to pretend everything is okay. You hurt me. You hurt Mom. You've been hurting this family for decades." "I know. But Charlotte deserves to know her grandfather, even if her grandfather is a coward." Madison walked down the porch steps and stood in front of her father. "You get one chance. One. If you disappear again, if you fail us again, you're gone forever. Understand?" Robert nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I understand." "Good. Now come inside. There's someone you need to meet." 6:00 p.m. Madison sat in the nursery watching her father hold Charlotte for the first time. Robert cradled his granddaughter like she was made of glass, his weathered face transformed by wonder. "She's beautiful," he whispered. "She looks just like your mother did at this age." Madison felt something unlock in her chest. A wall she'd built decades ago when her father had left, when her mother had gotten sick, when the world had proven that she could only rely on herself. "Tell me about Mom," she said. "Not the sad parts. Tell me something happy." Robert smiled, a real smile, the first one Madison had seen from him in years. "Did you know she wanted to be a singer before you were born? She had this beautiful voice. She used to sing in bars, little clubs in San Francisco. She was going to be famous. What happened? She got pregnant with you, and she decided that being a mother was more important than being famous." Robert looked at Charlotte. "She never regretted it, not once. She told me you were the best thing that ever happened to her." Madison felt tears threatening again. "I didn't know that." "There's a lot you don't know, a lot I should have told you years ago." Robert looked up at his daughter. "I have stories, hundreds of them, about your mother, your grandmother, the family you never got to meet. I want to tell you all of them, if you'll let me." Madison nodded. "I'd like that." 8:30 p.m. After her father left, Madison sat alone in the restored parlor looking at the photographs on the wall. Charlotte Whitmore, Eleanor Collins, her mother, herself. 4 generations of Collins women. 4 generations of struggle, sacrifice, and survival. Her phone buzzed. A text from Benjamin Ward. "Benjamin, the final settlement numbers are in. After the bond authentication and Morrison asset seizures, Charlotte's trust fund totals $412 million. She's one of the wealthiest children in California." Madison stared at the number. $412 million. More money than she could comprehend. More than she could ever spend. She typed back, "What do I do with it, Benjamin?" "Whatever you want. It's Eleanor's legacy. Now it's yours to shape." Madison thought about that. Eleanor had spent 80 years protecting wealth she never used, hoarding evidence she never released. Waiting, always waiting for the right moment. Madison didn't want to wait. She picked up her phone and called Benjamin. "I want to start a foundation, in Eleanor's name, for victims of corporate fraud, families destroyed by corruption, people who don't have the resources to fight back." "That's a big undertaking." "I know, but I have $412 million and nothing to do with it. Charlotte doesn't need that much money. No one does. I want to use it to help people, the way Eleanor helped people anonymously all those years." "And the vineyard." Madison looked out the window at the restored property. The neat rows of vines, the workers finishing their day, the sunset painting everything gold. The vineyard stays. It's home, but I want to open it to the public. Tours, tastings, educational programs. Let people see what the Collins family built. Let them understand what we fought for. That's a beautiful vision. It's Eleanor's vision. I'm just finishing what she started. 10:00 p.m. Madison put Charlotte to bed and then walked through the mansion one last time. Every room had a story now. Every wall held memories. Every shadow contained echoes of the women who had lived and died and fought in this place. She ended up in the tower room, the only habitable space when she'd first arrived, the place where she'd set up her sleeping bag, and tried to convince herself everything would be okay. 6 months ago, she'd been pregnant, homeless, and terrified. Now she was a mother, a millionaire, and the woman who had brought down one of California's most powerful families. She thought about everything that had brought her here. The eviction notice, the phone call from Benjamin Ward, the moment she'd inserted Eleanor's key into the vault lock, the press conference, the birth, the verdicts. Every step of the journey had seemed impossible at the time. Every obstacle had felt insurmountable. But she'd survived. She'd kept going. She'd refused to quit. And now she was standing in a restored mansion looking out at a vineyard that would produce wine again for the first time in decades, with a daughter sleeping peacefully in the room down the hall. Her phone buzzed. One final message. Tyler, I saw the verdicts. Congratulations. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I'm proud of you. Charlotte is lucky to have you as a mother. Maybe someday when she's ready, you can tell her that her father thought so too. Madison read the message twice. Then she typed a response she'd been thinking about for months. Madison Tyler, I don't know if you've really changed. I don't know if people can change that much. But I know Charlotte will ask about you someday. When she does, I'll tell her the truth, all of it. The good parts and the bad parts, and I'll let her make her own decision about whether to find you. Tyler, that's more than I deserve. Madison, yes, it is, but it's what's best for Charlotte, and she's all that matters now. Tyler, thank you, Madison, for everything. Madison, goodbye, Tyler. She blocked the number. Not out of anger this time, out of closure. That chapter was over. It was time to write a new one. The next morning, 8:00 a.m. Madison woke to the sound of Charlotte crying, not a distressed cry, but a happy one. The sound of a baby discovering her own voice. She went to the nursery and found her daughter standing in her crib, holding onto the rails, grinning with the 4 teeth, which she'd grown in the past month. Well, look at you, Madison said, standing up like a big girl. Charlotte bounced on her legs, delighted with herself. Madison picked her up and carried her to the window. Below the vineyard stretched out in neat rows, workers already beginning their day. In the distance, she could see the road that led to town, to the world beyond, to the future that was waiting for them. See all that, Madison said. That's yours. Your great-great-grandmother built it. Your great-grandmother protected it. Your grandmother gave up everything so you could have it. Charlotte grabbed Madison's face with both hands, her tiny fingers sticky from the morning. And me, I fought for it. I almost died for it. But it was worth it. Because now you get to grow up here. Safe, loved, free. Charlotte made a sound that might have been mama, or might have been baby babble. Either way, Madison felt her heart crack open with love. I'm going to tell you stories, Madison said. Every night. Stories about Eleanor and Charlotte Whitmore and your grandmother and all the women who came before you. Stories about courage and sacrifice and refusing to give up. And when you're old enough, I'm going to take you down to the vault and show you where it all started. Charlotte yawned. But first breakfast. Even revolutionaries need to eat. 1 year later. Madison stood at the edge of the vineyard watching the harvest festival unfold around her. 300 guests filled the property. Reporters documented California's most talked-about comeback story. Charlotte, now 18 months old, toddled between the guests, charming everyone she met. The Eleanor Collins Foundation had launched 6 months ago and was already helping thousands of families fight corporate fraud. The vineyard had produced its first wine in 50 years bottles that sold for $200 each, with proceeds going to the foundation. The mansion had been featured in Architectural Digest as one of the most remarkable restorations in the country. But that wasn't why Madison was proud. She was proud because she'd survived. Benjamin Ward found her at the edge of the crowd. Great party. Eleanor's party. I'm just the host. Don't sell yourself short. None of this happens without you. Benjamin handed her a glass of wine, their wine made from grapes grown in soil that had nurtured Collins vines for over a century. To Eleanor. To Eleanor. They drank. There's someone here to see you, Benjamin said carefully. In the house. I told her she could wait in the parlor. Victoria Morrison. She says she has something for you. Something Eleanor wanted you to have. Madison found Victoria sitting in the parlor looking older and more at peace than she had a year ago. Madison, thank you for seeing me. I wasn't sure I'd ever see you again. I wasn't sure either, but Eleanor asked me to do something and I finally found the courage to do it. Victoria reached into her bag and pulled out a leather journal. This is Eleanor's diary. The one she kept from 1943 until the day she died. She wanted you to have it. Madison took the journal, feeling the weight of decades, in her hands. Why didn't you give this to me before? Because I was still reading it. Eleanor asked me to finish it first. to understand everything she went through, to carry her story before I passed it on. Victoria's eyes were wet. She forgave me, you know, in those pages. She forgave me for being a coward, for not speaking up sooner. She said she understood why I was afraid. Madison opened the journal and saw Eleanor's handwriting, the same hand that had written the instructions Benjamin had given her, the same hand that had documented crimes and collected evidence for 80 years. "Thank you," Madison said. "This means more than you know. There's something else, something I need to tell you before I go." Go where? "I'm dying, Madison. Cancer. The doctors give me 6 months, maybe less." Victoria smiled sadly. "I suppose it's fitting. The last Morrison taken by something money can't buy." Madison felt unexpected grief rise in her chest. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I've made my peace. I testified, I told the truth, I helped bring down my own family. It's more redemption than I deserved." Victoria stood and took Madison's hands. "Promise me something." "What?" "Promise me you'll tell Charlotte about Eleanor, about Charlotte Whitmore, about all of them. Promise me you'll make sure she knows what her family sacrificed so she could live in freedom." "I promise." "And promise me," Victoria's voice broke, "promise me you'll tell her about the Morrisons too, not as villains, but as a warning, a lesson about what happens when greed and power corrupt a family, so she never makes the same mistakes." "I will." Victoria nodded, squeezed Madison's hands, and walked out of Whitmore Vineyard for the last time. 5 years later. Madison stood in the vault now, a proper museum, watching Charlotte explore the displays. At 6 years old, Charlotte was curious, intelligent, and stubborn, a Collins woman through and through. She had her mother's determination and her grandmother's eyes, and she had questions, so many questions. "Who's this?" Charlotte pointed to a photograph. "That's your great-great-grandmother, Charlotte Whitmore. You're named after her." She looked sad. She was brave and strong, and she loved her family more than anything. "Like you love me," Madison knelt beside her daughter. "Exactly like that." Charlotte pointed to another photograph. "And this one, that's Eleanor, your great-grandmother. She protected this house and everything in it for a very long time." "Why?" Madison thought about how to explain 80 years of sacrifice to a 6-year-old. "Because she loved us. Even though she never met us, she loved us. And she wanted to make sure we had everything we needed to be safe and happy." Charlotte considered this. "So she waited. For a really long time. For a very long time. And then you came and found what she was protecting." "Yes." Charlotte's face was serious, too serious for a child, but perfect for a Collins. "And now I have to protect it too." Madison felt tears threatening. "Not yet. You have a lot of growing up to do first. But someday, yes, someday this will all be yours, and you'll have to decide what to do with it. Will I be brave like you and Eleanor?" Madison pulled her daughter close. "You already are, baby girl. You already are." That evening, Madison walked through the vineyard alone. The vines were heavy with grapes ready for harvest. The mansion glowed in the distance, every window lit. From somewhere inside, she could hear Charlotte laughing at something Dorothy was saying. Madison stopped at a small garden she'd created in the corner of the property. 3 headstones stood in a row, though only one held actual remains. Charlotte Whitmore, 1890 to 1943. Beloved mother, fearless protector, never forgotten. Eleanor Collins, 1920 to 2024. She waited, she protected, she won. Victoria Morrison, 1936 to 2025. In the end, she chose truth. Madison knelt and placed flowers on each grave. "We did it," she said quietly. "All of you. We did it together. The Morrisons are gone. The network is destroyed. Charlotte is safe. The vineyard is thriving. Everything you sacrificed for it wasn't for nothing." A breeze rustled through the vineyard, and Madison could almost hear Eleanor's voice in the wind. "I always knew you'd be the one." Madison smiled. "I know you did, and I'm going to make sure Charlotte knows it too. Every story, every sacrifice, every victory, she's going to carry all of it forward." She stood and looked at the sunset painting the sky orange and purple. Behind her, the vineyard stretched out in perfect rows, healthy and productive for the first time in decades. Above her, the mansion stood restored and beautiful, a testament to what stubborn women could accomplish. And somewhere inside, her daughter was growing up, safe, loved, and free, the ultimate inheritance. Madison's phone buzzed, a text from Benjamin Ward. "Benjamin, the foundation just crossed $50 million on grants distributed." "Thought you'd want to know." Madison typed back, "Eleanor would be proud." "Benjamin, she'd be proud of you. We all are." Madison put her phone away and walked back toward the house. The journey had been impossible. Every step had seemed like the last one she could take. But she'd kept going. She'd fought when she wanted to surrender. She'd hoped when everything seemed hopeless. And now standing in the home her ancestors had built, surrounded by the legacy they'd protected, watching her daughter run through fields that had nurtured Colin's vines for over a century, Madison finally understood what Eleanor had known all along. The greatest inheritance isn't money or property. It isn't bonds worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It isn't even justice for crimes committed generations ago. The greatest inheritance is the knowledge that you come from strong people. That courage runs in your blood. That when everything falls apart, you have what it takes to put it back together. Madison Collins had inherited a vineyard, a mansion, and $315 million in rare wine bonds. But what she'd really inherited was the strength to fight for what mattered. The courage to stand when everyone told her to run. The determination to protect what she loved no matter the cost. And that inheritance was worth more than all the money in the world. Charlotte came running out of the house, her face lit up with joy. "Mommy, Dorothy says dinner's ready, and I helped make the salad." Madison caught her daughter and swung her around, listening to her laugh, feeling the solid weight of her in her arms. "Then let's go eat," Madison said. "We have a lot to celebrate." They walked toward the house together, mother and daughter, the latest in a long line of Collins women who refused to be defeated. Behind them, the sun set on Whitmore Vineyard. And in the vault beneath the mansion, Eleanor's photograph watched over everything, her expression frozen in the moment she'd recorded her final testimony, fierce and hopeful, knowing that someday someone would come to finish what she'd started. That someone had come, and she had finished it. Madison Collins had been homeless, pregnant, and alone when she inherited her grandmother's vineyard estate. She had been threatened, attacked, and nearly killed. She had given birth in the middle of a crisis, exposed a criminal network, and brought down one of the most powerful families in California. And now she was home, not just in the mansion her ancestors had built, not just in the vineyard her family had cultivated for generations, but in herself, in the strength she'd discovered when she had nothing left, in the courage she'd found when everything seemed impossible, in the love she'd built with a daughter who would carry it all forward. Madison Collins had inherited $315 million in rare wine bonds, but what she'd really inherited was a family worth fighting for, and that was the only inheritance that truly mattered.